Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome once again to day 5 of Srimad-Bhagavatam Katha on verse 1.1.1. Also, since today is the appearance of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Prabhuji has indicated that he will split today's session into two parts, and in the later half, he will speak about the appearance of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakurji. So let's have a quick recap of the important topics covered in Prabhuji's last session, day 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. So, in day 4, Prabhuji spoke about how Naradji inspired Srila Vyasadev to compile Srimad Bhagavatam to obtain the true satisfaction and guide mankind to the ultimate goal of human life, which is to develop the true love for Sri Krishna. Also, Prabhuji elaborated upon the subtle differences between Vasudev Krishna and Nandanandan Krishna, and why the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam starts with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which is to invoke the opulence of Vasudev Krishna. And also, Prabhuji explained in detail the introductory sloka of verse 1.1.1, which begins with Janmadhyasyato. The creation can be primarily divided into spiritual and material. So 25% is material and 75% is spiritual. The light emanating from the 75% spiritual creation is called the Brahma Jyoti and is generally the place granted for impersonal seekers. So that place is bereft of any material nature and does not have any of the three gunas that we know. And in the spiritual world, there are millions and millions of planets and millions of avatars of the Lord. So some of the prominent ones that Prabhuji spoke is about the Dham of Lord Sadashiv, who is the source of Lord Shiva and all the different Rudras. Ayodhya, where Lord Rama eternally resides. Mathura or Krishna Loka. Above Mathura is the Dwarka Loka, where Vasudev Krishna resides. And the topmost planet is Golak Vrindavan, where Nandanandan Krishna or Yasodanandan Krishna eternally resides. Prabhuji talked about how Balaram, Lord Balaram, is the first bodily expansion of Krishna and is the source of the entire spiritual world and is the representative of Krishna's Sandhini Shakti, which is the potency of existence of the Lord. And after Balaram are the other expansions like Sankarshana, then Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and likewise. And the Purusha avatars like Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Shirodakshai Vishnu. Lord Brahma, born from the lotus flower from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, is an expansion of Balarama. Also, Prabhuji spoke in detail about the Prakas and Vilas forms of the Lord. So the Prakas forms are manifested by Lord Krishna for his pastimes, and their features are exactly like his. When the Lord manifests his Vilas expansions, however, they are somewhat different in their bodily features. So Lord Balaram is the first Vilasa expansion of Lord Sri Krishna. So ultimately, the essence of the introductory verse of 1.1.1 is that Nandanandan Krishna or Yashodanandan Krishna is Swayam Bhagwan, and all the avatars are his plenary portions or portions of his plenary portions. So let's advance our spiritual journey further, and let's request Prabhuji to commence today's session on Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. आराध्यो भगवान व्रजेश तनयस तद्धाम वृंदावनम रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधुवर्गेण तया कल्पिता श्रीमद्भागवत पुराणयमलम् प्रेम पुमार्थो महान् श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मतैदम् नायत्रयाग्रह परः शृण्वन्ता स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनम् हृदयन्तस्त भद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुत पदकमलम् श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमस्ते गिरिराजाय गोवर्धननामिने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय सर्वानंदप्रदायिने गिरिराज धरण की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today is August 30, Sunday, August 30, 2020, and the fifth day on our ongoing discussions of Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam. We are still into the very first verse. The first 3 days we gave an introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, and last Sunday we started the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Anup Prabhu and Asim Prabhu has been very nicely assisting in organizing this program, and I thank all the devotees who are present. My humble obeisances, pranams to all of you. Hundreds and thousands of obeisances to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guruvar and all Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Asim Prabhu had very nicely summarized in the opening statement today about what we had discussed in the very first Mangalacharan or the invocation of Srimad Bhagavatam's first verse. So the first verse being Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om janmadiyasya yatvannvayat itarataschartheshva vigyaswara tene brahma hridayadi kavaye muhyanti yat surya tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo amrusha dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi satyam param dhimahi satyam param dhimahi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The special invocation unto Vasudev, who emanates from the first expansion of Rajendranandan Krishna, Sri Balram, in Golok, the topmost spiritual planet in the Vaikuntha Lokas, or the Krishna Loka. From him, Nandanandan, who is known as the Swayam Rupa, he expands simultaneously. I'm just recapping a very important information about his expansions. And all of this will be explained later on in the Srimad-Bhagavatam pretty much in detail about his avatars, etc. So Nandanandan is known as the Swayam Rupa, or he is known as the real Vastu, the object of worship. And he simultaneously expands himself. On the left side, he expands himself as the Haladini Shakti, Srimati Radharani, and on his right side, he expands as his Vaibhav Prakash, known as Balram, his Vaibhav Prakash. And through Balram, all the other different expansions and the creations of the spiritual and the material worlds take place. Lord Balram is indeed the source of all these different expansions, avatars, etc. There is Tad Ek Atma Rupa, or the expansions with different moods. There is Vilasa, expansions, the four-armed Vishnu forms. The Prabhav Vilasa, known as the first quadruple expansion. The Vaibhav Vilasa, known as the second quadruple expansion. And then there are the different Swa Amshas, the Leela avatars, the Purusha avatars, the Guna avatars, the Shakti Avesh avatars, the Manvantar avatars, and the Yuga avatars. So like this, the Supreme Lord, Nandanandan, Sri Krishna, who is exactly 15 years and 9 months and 27 years old, the eternal Govindamadi Purusham, who from him, who is the source of everything, he emanates. The different avatars, like even the living entities that are empowered directly, are known as Shaktavesh avatars. 4 Kumaras are also known as the Shaktavesh avatars. Naradji, Brahmaji, Anantasesh, Prithu Maharaj, Parshuram, all those are known as Shaktavesh avatars, those avatars that have been given a very special power. Even His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is considered a Shaktavesh avatar of Krishna, one who is empowered specially by Krishna. And then there is the Vibhu, the reflections of the Lord's might, those different demigods, like the Devi Devtas, like Indra, Agni, Meru, Brihaspati, Kartikeya, Bhrigumuni, etc. Like this. And then, of course, there are Guna avatars, Shakti Avesh avatars, Manvantars, and different Yuga avatars. So like this, we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Nandanandan, is the source of everything, Janmadi Yasya. Janam means the creation. Adi means the sustenance and the annihilation. Yasya, from Krishna. And we explained pretty much quite a bit in our first session about how the two words Janam, Adi, the different rasas or the mellows, the different relationships that we have in this material world of neutrality, of friendship, of servitorship, of paternal and maternal, or known as the Vatsalya rasa and the Madhurya rasa, the conjugal, the lover and the beloved relationships, that of a husband and wife, the relationships of parental relationships, the relationships of friendship, the relationship of servitorship, and the relationship of neutral relationships. Because they all exist in the spiritual world, they exist in the material world. The material world is explained by the Vedas and many other spiritual scriptures as the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So, because they exist there, they exist here. All the different moods, whether it is humor or whether it is socially not accepted activities like anger or theft or all of those, also exist in the spiritual world. But the difference here is that here it is meant for personal sense gratification, whereas if there is any theft that happens in the spiritual world or on a spiritual platform, it is merely a platform for the pleasure of the devotees and the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, which enhances the mellows or the rasa. So, that being said, that Janmadiyasya, everything emanates from Sri Krishna Nanda Nandan. And we also explained last time, we sang a wonderful song of Thakura Bhakti Vinod. Today is his appearance day, his Ocho. So later on, I'm going to dedicate at least half of this program towards His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It is extremely important to glorify the acharyas, especially on their appearances and disappearance days, for our personal benefit. And not only that, it gives immense pleasure to Radha Krishna when we glorify the devotee of Radha Krishna. So we have to understand that whenever we get such occasions, we should not neglect them. As a matter of fact, we should take great joy and pride in describing their glorious deeds and how compassionate such personalities are. So coming back to this verse, Janmadiyasya, the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, Krishna, the Nandanandan, Janmadiyasya, he is indeed the source. There are many, many different meanings, deeper and deeper meanings that the Rasik Acharyas have explained. Some of our Acharyas have written wonderful compositions just on this first verse itself. Even Thakur Bhaktivinod has written in his commentary on the Srimad-Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavat Arka Marich Mala, he has written a wonderful explanation on the very first verse of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, Om Janmadiyasya Yato Anvayad Itaratascha. So Yato Anvayad means that the Anvayad Itaratas means Anvayad means direct and indirect, which is the meaning of Itaratas. So we touched on it a little bit last time. Krishna's Chitta Shakti, Krishna's Shaktis, probably you can divide them into three major categories: the Chitta Shakti, the Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. The Chitta Shakti, with that, he creates the transcendental worlds like Golok Vrindavan and Vaikuntha Lokas. All transcendental forms like those of Baldev Prabhu, Nanda Mata, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, etc. All the different eternal inhabitants of Golok Vrindavan, etc. and Vaikuntha Lokas, that they have been created by the Chitta Shakti of Sri Krishna Nandanandan. And with the Jiva Shakti, he manifests all liberated and conditioned souls. So there are two types of souls. One are known as Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Baddhas. We fall under the category of Nitya Baddha. Nitya Baddha means we are eternally bound. Eternally bound means we are always appearing in this material world, birth after birth after birth after birth, since time immemorial, and we are under the control of Mahamaya, the three gunas, the three different modes of material nature. We also explained that guna means a rope in Sanskrit. Of course, guna also means qualities, but one of the meanings of guna means ropes. Rope is usually used for tying something or binding something, and that keeps the baddha, the jiva baddha in the material world. The 25% of the Nandanandan's creation is material, or it is known as samsara, the cycle of birth and death. And the jiva is eternally kind of, appearing in this material world, taking different births in the 8,400,000 species of life, or the 84 lakh yoni. And they are constantly under the influence of Maya or Mahamaya, the Tamogun, Rajogun, and Satogun, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. And therefore, they are known as Baddha Jivas. So, from this Jiva Shakti, there is also another Jiva Shakti who are eternally liberated. And they have never been influenced by Maya. And they have always been in the association of the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha Loka or in Golok Vrindavan or any of the spiritual planets. He manifests all those liberated souls and conditioned souls from his Jiva Shakti. As far as the Maya Shakti is concerned, she is not a zero. She is also very prominent, and also is the power of Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya Maya Durattaya. Je mam prapadyante Maya tarantite. My Maya is extremely difficult to surmount, and one who surrenders unto me can overcome Maya. And she creates hundreds and thousands of Brahmans and universes through her being a part of that process. When Mahavishnu glances into the Mahatvatva, which is Maya, she is like the mother, like we say, Mother Nature. We very commonly use that word even in English, that Mother Nature. So Maya Shakti, she helps in creating, indirectly in one sense, the different what do you call, the different material worlds or the Brahmans, and all souls are souls who are chetan or conscious. uh, that is the meaning of the indirect creation. It is through the creation of through Maya, the material world. Maya plays a very important role. So that is the meaning. There is direct and indirect. Krishna is, and he is very cognizant. Yato anvayat itaratascha artesha abhigya. And he is very knowledgeable. Whether the worlds or anything that is created in this entire creation, he is directly and indirectly cognizant, or he is directly or indirectly involved in its creation. So Maya also being so jada or inert, although inert, Maya covers the consciousness of beings, of the jivas in this material world, or it is known as the jivas are known as the Chetan Padartha. So we have to understand that how powerful Maya Devi is. And although she is a part of this creation, Krishna never falls her under her jurisdiction, and that is why he is known as Achyuta. One of the names of Krishna is Achyuta. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Nau Yavanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ishwara Parama Krishna Satyat Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. He is the Ishwar Parama Krishna, the topmost controller of everything. And he is the embodiment of eternity, truth. and he is fully cognizant, chitta. He is completely knowledgeable, and that is the same thing which is being mentioned here, that he is itaratascha artheshva abhigya. He knows everything directly and indirectly. So in the second line of this Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, here this means that the Brahma means the spiritual knowledge, the spiritual Gyan. Hridaya means the heart, and Adi Kavi means Brahmaji. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So here Lord Brahma is being inspired by Sri Krishna. In the beginning of the material creations, Mahavishnu, there are three types of Vishnus. We have explained that before. There is Mahavishnu that is reclining or resting on a serpent bed in a place called Viraja, or the Karunodaksha Jal, the causal ocean. And this causal ocean is it's like a borderline between the material worlds, which are 25% of the entire creation, and the 75% spiritual worlds. And this Mahavishnu, being an expansion of Lord Balram's second Chaturvyu, the Sankarshan or the Mahasankarshan, whose expansion is Mahavishnu. And from Mahavishnu, when Mahavishnu exhales, millions and millions of Brahmans are created. The universal systems in the material world are created they appear from the pores, just like we have pores on our hands, our legs, our body, where the little hair follicles they grow. So like that, through whenever he exhales, millions and millions and Brahmans are created, and then those Brahmans are empty. Then Mahavishnu, he actually fills the bottom. He actually expands himself into Garbho Udakashayi Vishnu, and the bottom of each Brahmand is filled about 1/3 or 25% to 1/3 with his own sweat by Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's transcendental sweat, and that is known as Garbhasagar. That Garbhasagar where he reclines, that is why he is known as Garbho Udakashayi Vishnu. That Garbho Udakashayi Vishnu, from his navel, a beautiful lotus emanates, and that lotus is the source of within that Brahman of the 14 different planetary systems. The central planetary system in the stem of the Brahman, in the stem of that lotus, or you can imagine, to make it very simple, it's a 14-story building. And in the 14-story building, in the middle is the earthly planet or the earthly planetary system. And there are 6 planetary systems above, which are heavenly or known as the heavens. Like the middle is the Prithvi, Bhu, Bhuva, Swahar, Mahar, Janar, Tapas, and Satya. Satya Lok, also known as the Brahma Lok, where Lord Brahma, he personally resides. And then this ground floor, we can say, is the Earth planet. Above that, there is a 6 stories, which are heavenly planets. And then the basement has got 7 layers or 7 story basement, and that basement represents, you can say, that the hellish planets, the different hellish planetary systems, known as Tala, Vitala, Sutala, Mahatala, Patal, Rasatal, Patal, etc. So there are different levels and gradations, and even within those hellish planetary systems, there are many different hells, like Kumbhi, Pak, Narak, etc. And you all may have heard it either from your grandparents or somebody. They are right, actually. It is all there. It's given in the Garuda Purana. The different like in this particular world, we have so many different countries. So there are different continents, we can say. So similarly, the hellish planetary systems have different types of hells that are there according to the one's impious activities or pap karma. One gets residency there. And similarly, the 6 different heavenly planetary systems, according to one's level of piety or punya karma, one gets residency in those heavenly planets. So we have to understand that it is there in that stem of the lotus that grows from the navel of of Garbhodaksai Vishnu. And then from that, first of all, when that lotus appears, there is nothing inside, actually speaking. And Lord Brahma, the first created being, he actually takes birth, and he goes through that stem and reaches the top of the lotus, and he sits there, and there is complete darkness in that stem or that tube. And when he reaches up to the top, some or the other, when he reaches up to the actual flower base, he also finds that it's completely dark and completely, so being so confused, and he actually starts crying. And then Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, Nandan from Golok Vrindavan, he actually plays his flute and gives him the Kam Gayatri. He actually imparts Tene Brahma. Brahma means the Brahman knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Tene Brahma Hriday, within his heart, in the core of his heart, through the sound vibration, Nandan Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, gives knowledge to Lord Brahma, the first created being, by first showing him Golok Vrindavan through that Kam Gayatri. It is the Bij mantra that is given. We explained last time that this Surya Gayatri, that most people commonly known as the Om Bhur Bhuvasva Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat. That is the most commonly known as the Surya Gayatri that most people know and they chant. But it's a very, very deep. That's this first verse of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, our Acharyas explain, is an explanation of this Gayatri mantra in one sense. And when this actually the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas have explained this so-called Surya Gayatri in a very different dimension. And there are different types of Gayatri mantras, like those who have taken the Brahman initiation. Janmana Jayate Shudra Sanskarat Bhavati Dvija. Dvija. Dvi means twice, and Ja means Janma, your second birth. When we are under the proper direction of a proper Acharya or a Guru or a Brahmin, we the proper sanskaras are performed, then we get a second birth. First birth is from our mother, natural birth mother. But our real birth happens when we get a spiritual birth. The spiritual birth is generally when we get Diksha, when we get Brahma Sambandh. And there are different types of Dikshas. In our Gaudiya Sampradaya, there are 3 Dikshas that we normally take. One is, first is the Harinam Diksha, where the Guru sees that the disciple is now capable and he has promised to chant a certain number of Harinam every day. For example, in our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, in Prabhupada's Gurudev's Math, known as the Gaudiya Math, the minimum chanting that was required, the 64 rounds every day of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this Mahamantra, 16 words of the holy name, Hare, Krishna and Rama, that comprises one Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Those is the Shadodosha, the 16-lettered mantra. So this Mahamantra, we are required, those who are who are serious about their bhajana kriya. One of the processes of bhakti. First we have Shraddha, then we meet the sadhus or we meet Vaishnavas, and then they tell us that what is good for our spiritual life. And they tell us that, hey, like a good doctor will recommend medicine for our health, our bodily health, that please take this medicine and please do this and please don't do, the do's and don'ts. Similarly, the spiritual doctors, the Vaishnavas, the Acharyas, they tell us the do's and don'ts. That is called bhajana kriya. So the do's are, what are the do's that what were in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And most Vaishnavas, I have some or the other have the same message. Whatever sampradaya they may be, any bona fide Vaishnava, the Acharya will guide under their guidance, devotees, that we should always have sadhu sangha or satsang, association of devotees. We should always read the scriptures like pure scriptures like Srimad-Bhagavatam. We should always travel to the tirthas. Whenever we get time, then we should take time to travel to different tirthas. We should chant the holy names. That is one of the most important instructions. Chanting the holy names, meaning is actually associating with Krishna, Sri Krishna. Name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. It is Sri Krishna. We don't really know that. We don't really realize it. But those who have seen it, Prabhupada has said that once we stop our offenses and when we chant the holy name, Krishna will dance on our tongue. This is Srila Prabhupada's words. And we will realize so many things. Sometimes Krishna is so kind that if a devotee is sincere, he gives a little glimpse, like how he gave a glimpse of his darshan to Naradji. When Naradji's mother passed away, we will study that in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, in this very first canto, in the 5th chapter, 6th chapter, when he is conversing with Vyasadeva about his personal life. Naradji is saying that, when he left home after his mother passed away, a young little boy, and when he was going deep into the forest, he got darshan of Sri Krishna. And then Krishna vanished. So sometimes Krishna, to encourage us, when we try to chant the holy name sincerely, Krishna will give us that very special darshan. And it happens to many devotees. Even if we are in a very, very, what we can say, in a non, even if though we are not so advanced. So that way we can get some encourage. So what to talk about once we get to that advanced level of chanting the holy name? It is like, actually, how can I describe this? Like when you are meeting a very dear friend or a person, you are actually sitting with that person face to face. Similarly, the holy names actually are Krishna and Krishna's transcendental energies like Radharani and the Vraj Gopis, etc. So this is a very, very deep subject just on the holy name itself. We can share with you all at some other time the glories of the holy names. And so the point is that Harinam Diksha is what in our sampradaya, that is what is given. And like many other sampradayas, even like say in the Vallabh sampradaya, they give that Mahamantra. They call this the Mahamantra, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. And they give that. You take a bath in the Jamuna and then you come to the Guru and the Guru gives you the Kanthimala. And then this mantra is given. Like Dhruv Maharaj was given the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he was initiated by Naradji into the Brahma Sambandh or the Brahma Gyan, which is the same thing which Brahmaji is being given by Sri Krishna at the beginning of creation. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave. The second initiation is also an important part of our spiritual progress. It is not necessary though, and it is not important that everybody should get the second initiation. But it is a part of, especially those who would like to serve the deities on the altar and do seva, on the altar as pujaris especially. And this was actually very nicely brought on a shastric evidence basis by Srila Prabhupada's Gurudev Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because people were criticized when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada used to initiate other persons who were non-Brahminical by birth. He was being criticized. But according to Shastra, like even Bhagavad Gita mentions that Krishna says Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhadasha. He doesn't say by Janma. So one can become a Brahman. One can be in a very, very ignorant state like a Shudra. Shudra means one who is very ignorant. So one can be born, actually all are born as Shudra. Janmana Jayate Shudra Sanskarat Bhavati Dvicha. All are born as Shudras. As we can see, even when we are little children, when we are born from the mother's womb, slowly as we develop, we have to learn Papa, Mama, Dada, Dadi, all these words. Simply our parents or our well-wishers keep repeating, and then by hearing, we learn the language. So when we are born, we are all Shudras. We are all ignorant. Then as we grow up a little bit, they try to teach us the Barakhadi or the ABCs. A, B, C, D, Ka, Kha, Gha, etc. The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Like that, we have to learn everything from scratch. So Janmana Jayate Shudra. So these are material things. What to talk about spiritual? Spiritual subjects are also considered Vigyan, Vishesha Gyan, Iti Gyan, Iti Vigyan. Vishesh means special knowledge, and special knowledge means this knowledge about spiritual knowledge, Brahma Gyan, which we are talking about in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye. Brahma means this Divya Gyan, this spiritual knowledge that was given in the heart of Lord Brahma or Adi Kavi. So, like this, the Janmana Jayate Shudra Sanskarat Bhavati Dvija. We become Dvija, twice born, with the sanskars, with the initiation processes. And that is why Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, because of being criticized, he rightfully, based on Shastra, he started initiating even the non-Brahmin people into Brahmana by giving them the Brahman Janoi or the thread by the proper process. When they were properly studying the scriptures, they were chanting the holy names, they were elevated to the platform of that level of Brahman. And Vaishnava is beyond even Brahman level. But a minimum standard of Brahminical thread is required, not just whimsically, but with the proper understanding and with the proper guidance. And by following those rules and regulations, one becomes a Brahman. The Brahman is not by birth. Just like we give this example that if my father is a doctor, then so what, my father be a doctor? And he might have got a doctorate from one of the best universities in the world. Let's say he got a doctorate from the Harvard University. So can I go to Harvard and say, my father is a doctor, so give me the doctorate degree also? No, my dear sir, they will say, you have to go through the proper process, and then we will confer you the doctorate degree. Similarly, it is not by janma, it is by karma, by activities. One can become something in life, whatever it is, whether it is becoming a Brahmin or whatever, or one can become a good Kshatriya when that person is got the qualities of good warfare tactics. So one can be a Shudra or one can be Brahmanical in nature, but he can be a Kshatriya. Like a very good example that I can think of is the son of Dronacharya. What was his name? Ashwadhama. Now, Dronacharya was addressed by everybody as Shrestha Brahman. He was addressed as, oh, best amongst the Brahman. Whenever people addressed him, he had so much revered because he was a very wonderful Brahman in nature, and by his activities. But his son was not called Brahman. He was addressed as Brahma Bandhu, a relative of a Brahman or son of a Brahman, because his qualities were of Kshatriya in nature. He was perfect in the arts of warfare. Ashwadhama had learnt all the different arts of archery, etc., the warfare. So therefore, he was known as Brahma Bandhu, and he was more recognized. He was actually recognized as a Kshatriya, although born of a Brahmin father. So similarly, we have been, some people in India, they criticize all the foreigners who are the white body and the black body, etc., and they are serving Radha Krishna on the temple, on the altar. Many people and many of the Orthodox Brahmins criticize Prabhupada, and they criticize but little do they know that they have been actually properly initiated in the system. Due to their qualities, they have become Brahmins and Vaishnavas. In India today, we see that so many people who are born in big Brahminical families, and they're controlling big temples. But if you see, they're always having gutka in their mouth. They're chewing tobacco, and they have all these improper vices that is not befitting a Vaishnava. And they call themselves Vaishnavas, or they call themselves as the custodians or the rightful heirs of such big temples, and their forefathers were pure, and those acharyas who the deities manifest to, they were completely pure. But nowadays they have degraded. In our system of this Vaishnava Sampradaya, Prabhupada gave everything as it is. They don't even drink tea or coffee. What to talk about intoxicants? Unfortunately, people have misunderstood. The rascals like Devanand made that movie, Dam Maro Dam, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. He will be actually somewhere right now in the deepest of the deepest hells for creating such an image. Very few people have understood Vaishnavism. And one of the things is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he actually re-established Vaishnavism. When we take half of the program today dedicating it to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we will highlight some of the some of the most important contributions that Thakur Bhaktivinoda has made to Vaishnavism. So we have to understand that to become a Vaishnava, Vaishnava is not a jat. One can be born whatever to parents, to whichever parents, whether they were meat-eating parents or they were born in the most hellish conditions. Like when Prabhupada came to the West, he said that, my dear Krishna, you have brought me to this part of the world where people are mostly in the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion in Tamogun and Rajogun. But somehow or the other, you have brought me here. So please, how will they understand the message of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the Vasudeva Katharuchi? How will they get the taste of the message of Vasudev or the taste of Srimad-Bhagavatam? But somehow or the other, you have brought me here, and they have given me the title of Bhaktivedanta. They have given me the title of the that Vedantist who has understood all the Vedas from the perspective of pure bhakti, Bhakti Vedanta. So now it is up to you whether you want to make this successful or not. It is up to you, O Krishna. So this is what Srila Prabhupada prayed when he was during his journey on a steamship named Jaldut before he landed at the Boston Harbor in 1965. So my point being that the qualification is very important to make all these hippies who are drinking constantly, non-stop. They were taking drugs and they were doing so many things. And that part, Devanand and persons like that, they easily criticize. Oh, the Hare Krishna, Hare Ram movement is all about Charsis, and they were taking, they never ever highlighted the part that what a great personality A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, that he made them stop all these dirty habits and made them Vaishnavas. That today, if you see, they don't even touch tea or coffee. How many Indians can give up the tea or coffee? I'm talking about so-called who claim to be Vaishnavas. They wear the kanthi mala. They wear that, but they're still they're Godas. They have their surnames, big surnames, Goswami of such and such a Gosai or such and such Maharaj speaking Bhagavatam. But after Bhagavatam is over, ek chai cup ka ho jaye, ek cup chai ka ho jaye, and they drink tea. So this is not pure Vaishnavism. Unfortunately, I am also sitting on this Vyas Gadi, and my job is to speak everything as it is. And that is the job of Srila Prabhupada and the pure Vaishnavas, to speak everything as it is. So that is the point, that Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavai, that Brahma, this knowledge, pure spiritual knowledge, is only for those who can accept it. And that is given as it is through the perfect Guru Parampara. When that Guru Parampara link is missing, then things can become whimsical. It is okay to drink tea. It is okay to drink coffee. It is okay to eat onion. It is okay to eat garlic. So many. And these are so big leaders who have got lakhs and millions of followers. They are eating onion garlic. And they're speaking about Ramayana and they're speaking about Harikatha. That is not the proper system. So we have to appreciate. Anybody can qualify. This is Krishna consciousness. And one time, Srila Prabhupada was in Mumbai, and every day, wherever Srila Prabhupada was, he had this habit of taking a morning walk. And along with many of his disciples, he would simply take a morning walk for about half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, whichever part of the world he was. So there was one doctor, a medical doctor by the name Dr. Bhogilal Patel, and he used to visit the Juhu temple, and Prabhupada used to love debating with him because he was a Jnani. He had studied many different subject matters from the Vedas. He had knowledge from the Bible, etc. So Prabhupada used to love debating with him and defeating him. And by then, through that process, all the disciples that were walking in the morning walk would get the proper information and through those conversations or debates with Dr. Patel, his disciples, Prabhupada's disciples, would get a wonderful spiritual lesson, some or the other. So one time, Dr. Bhogilal Patel asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Pandita Samadarshina. So Prabhupada said, yes, of course, Pandita Samadarshina. So then why, Swamiji, you are calling all these scientists rascals, etc.? So Prabhupada used to call all the atheistic personalities rascals, meaning they were of demoniac in nature. One who does not accept the authority of God, they are certainly rascals, or they are demons. So, in other words, Bhogilal Patel was saying, Dr. Patel was saying that you are a Swami, so you should look upon everybody equally. So Prabhupada smiled. He stopped in his footsteps on Juhu Beach, and he pointed with his, he was an old man, Prabhupada ji, so he had a walking stick. He took his walking stick and he pointed towards all his Western disciples, all the Goras, and he said, our version of Pandita Sama Darshina is that we give Krishna consciousness equally to everyone. So the idea is that Krishna consciousness, Jai Krishna Tattva Veti Sahi Guru Hoya, Amar Agya Taro Ides, Jare Dekho Tare Kaho Krishna Updesh. This is Mahaprabhu's Vani. This is Mahaprabhu's instructions. That one who knows the science of Krishna consciousness, that person is qualified to be a Vaishnava. That person is qualified to be a Guru. It doesn't matter about the birth. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family, but Mahaprabhu gave him the title of Namacharya. He used to chant, how many rounds a day, how many hours a day? A minimum 18 to 19 hours a day he used to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In Jagannath Puri, by Haridas Thakur kept on chanting the holy name, although he was born in a Muslim family. So like that, there are many different examples. Ras Khan in the Vallabh Sampradaya, he was considered as one of the topmost Vaishnavas, and he composed, he was given Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavai. I'm still talking about that line, that how spiritual knowledge, when given in the proper parampara, has a lot of potency. So Gosaiji or Vittalnathji, the son of Sri Vallabhacharya Pad, gave initiation, Brahma Gyan or Brahma Sambandh to Ras Khan. And Ras Khan became a very wonderful pure Vaishnava. Like that, Chand Kazi, who was a Muslim minister, was also given Brahma Gyan by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like that, so many different persons. It doesn't matter what our background is. Krishna Bhakti is meant for everybody. Our relationship, because we are all anshas of Krishna. Brahma Bhuta, we are all Brahma Bhuta. We are part and parcels of Sri Krishna. Mamayamsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that all jivas are his anshas, or his part and parcels. So it doesn't matter about the outer covering. This outer covering is just an upadhi. Sarva upadhi vinirmuktam tat paratena nirmalam risikena risikesha sevanam tat bhakti ruttam. We have to go beyond this upadhi, that because my body is born to a Gujarati family, I identify myself as a Gujarati. Because I am Indian, my body was born into Indian parents or Indian, I am Indian, or I am American, I am Canadian, I am this, I am that. This is all upadhi. So what is not upadhi? When we are Jiver Swarup Krishna Nityadas, our only identity is that we are eternal servants of Sri Krishna. That is the constitutional position of the jiva, or the eternal dharma, or the nitya dharma, or the paro dharma. That is Brahma Gyan. So Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, that knowledge was given to the Lord Brahma through that Kam Gayatri mantra. And that Kam Gayatri actually is a very special Gayatri that is given. I was explaining about the second initiation process, and we chant every day. Those who are initiated in the second initiation, there are 7 Gayatris that we chant. One is the Krishna Gayatri, which is commonly taken as the Surya Gayatri. The second and third Gayatris are Guru Gayatris. Then there are 2 Gauranga Gayatris, 2 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gayatris that invoke, and we meditate on that. And there are 2 Krishna Gayatris that invoke the blessings of Radharani and the Gopis and Sri Krishna in the Golok Bhav. So these are very deep subject matters. So the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam is the one of the natural commentaries of this first Gayatri mantra, and that Gayatri is most commonly known as the Surya Gayatri, Savita. The word Savita is being used in that. Just to simply very briefly touch on it, because I'm not supposed to talk about this in public. It is forbidden, because this Brahma Gayatri is only for those who are initiated in the Brahman. But everybody knows about the first Gayatri. Therefore, I don't mind giving a little bit of insight when they say Om Bhur Bhasva Tatsa Vitur Varenyam. That Savitu means, Savita means the sun. But who is the original sun? The original sun is Sri Krishna. Our Gaudiya Acharyas explain that Krishna Surya Saman, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned, Sri Krishna Surya Saman. So that is Surya. And Om Bhur Bhasva Tatsa Vitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya. Bhargo means the energy, and that energy is Srimati Radharani. Very deep understanding of the Surya Gayatri. I have given a lecture on this in Srimad-Bhagavatam one day. This was, if those who are interested, they can search it on YouTube. I had given it in Belgium, in Radhadesh. It was a particular part of the Srimad-Bhagavatam where I was inspired to continue with this perspective of the Surya Gayatri, that is actually Sri Krishna and Bhargo Devasya. Dev here means Krishna. The internal transcendental potency of Sri Krishna or the Haladini Shakti is Bhargo. And I meditate on both of them, Radha and Krishna. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. We meditate, meaning all of us, we meditate on the topmost spiritual potency of Sri Krishna, the Haladini Shakti, Sri Radharani. Devasya Dhimahi. Dhyo yo na prachodayat. We meditate on that. It is plural. So, speaking like that, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. That spiritual knowledge was given to Lord Brahma, and that is the reason Lord Brahma could actually see Golok Vrindavan, and then he composes, or what he speaks later on after getting that knowledge. He actually gets both knowledge, the spiritual knowledge and the material knowledge. And through that material knowledge, he creates the 14 planetary systems that are there in that stem. That stem was previously empty. Like I said, it's a 7-story building with 7 basements, the ground floor being the earthly planet and 6 heavenly planets. Like that, the 14 planetary systems, also very commonly known as the Chauda Bhuvan or the Trilok. It is also known as Trilok. Trilok means the earthly planet is 1, the heavenly planets is 2, and the hellish planets is 3. It is known as Trilok or Chauda Bhuvan. The 14 different planetary systems, 6 heavenly, earthly in the middle, and 7 hellish planets. So Krishna gives him the knowledge how to create the different planetary systems and also these spiritual. So through that Kan Gayatri or the Gopal mantra, he gives him the glimpse of the detailed knowledge, and then Brahmaji prays to Krishna, and that is especially in the Brahma Samhita, known as the 5th chapter, which by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Rangdev temple, when he went to South India, especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that please look in this corner somewhere in the temple. They dug it, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita, which describes Golok Vrindavan, which was a very special mercy. Actually, this is very confidential information, but this particular Brahma was blessed directly by that Gayatri mantra that Krishna gave, that knowledge about Golok Vrindavan. And then, Lord Brahma describes Golok Vrindavan in the Brahma Samhita through all these different verses, especially starting from the beginning, and then verse number 27 through verse number 56. Amazing. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha lakshat vitesu surbhir abhir palayantam lakshmi sahastra shata sambram sevyamanam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. This Golok Vrindavan is made of Chintamani, of touchstone. That is the vision he gets through the Kam Gayatri, through the flute of Krishna. Krishna Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavi. In his heart, Adi Kavi, the first poet, because Brahmaji composed such wonderful poetry by the mercy of Krishna. That is why he is known as Adi Kavi. Adi Kavaye means the first Kavi or the first poet. He describes Sri Golok Vrindavan, Chintamani Prakara Satmasu Kalpa Vriksha Lakshat Videshu. Millions and millions of desire trees are permeated in Golok Vrinda. Surbhir Abir Palayantam, and there are millions and millions of cows that give unlimited milk. They are known as Surbhi cows. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam, and there are Sahasra Shatas, thousands and thousands of gopis. Lakshmi is meaning gopis. Here, Lakshmi means the most opulent personalities, and there is no more opulence than Golok Vrindavan. Golok Vrindavan has got the topmost opulence way beyond Vaikuntha. Like Sarup Damodar Goswami in a conversation with Srivasa Acharya in the Hira Panchami festival, he says that the opulence of Golok Vrindavan is not even compared to one drop of Vaikuntha. So those Lakshmis that Brahmaji is referring to are all those gopis, because they possess the topmost of the topmost opulence is Nandanandan, the love of Nandanandan, the Vraj Prem. So that opulence, that's why they are called Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam, and they serve Nandanandan. That is called Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Like Govind Devji, the pranam mantra of the Abhidya Dev. What is that pranam mantra that we sing? The Gaudiya Vaishnavas. What is that pranam mantra of Govind Devji? Govind Devji is Divya Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumat Srimad Ratnangada Simhasanasto Sri Srila Radha Govind Deva Preshta Libi Sevya Manav Smarami. I meditate on the Radha Govinda in Golok Vrindavan. They are sitting on a wonderful throne that is bedecked with beautiful jewels, and they are served by so many gopis. Lakshmi Sahasrashada Sambrama Sevyamano. So I meditate on that. Gopastri Pariveshtita Gopala Chudamini. Gopala Chudamani Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Falke. Another wonderful shloka, where in that shloka in the end it says that this Krishna who is being served by so many gopis, Gopastri Pariveshtita, Gopala Chudamani, amongst all the coward boys, the crest jewel Gopal is being served by these amorous, in his amorous pastimes, in the Madhurya Ras, by these gopis. But Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikave, he gave amongst so many different creations that take place. Lord Brahma is given the vision of Vaikuntha, of all the avatars of Krishna. He can see all that. He can see the source of Nandanandan. He is the source of everything. And Nandanandan gives him through the Adi Kavaye, through Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, through his heart, he gives him the opportunity, and he shows him Golok Vrindavan. Brahmaji in Brahma Samhita writes so nicely. What is that Brahma Gyan he gets? What is that highest spiritual knowledge he gets? Shriya Kantaha Kantaha Parama Purushaha Kalpa Tarovaho Shriya Kantaha Kantaha Parama Purushaha Kalpa Taravo Bruma Bhumi Chintamani Ganamai Toyam Amritam Katha Ganam Natyam Gamanapicha Vamshi Priya Sakhi Chidananda Jyoti Paramapitada Swadhyamapicha Sayatra Shirabdi Surabhibhyascha Sumahan Nimeshardhakyo va Vrajatihi Nayatrapi Samayaha Bhaje Shweta Deepam Tamahamiha Golokamitiyam Vidantaste Santaha Shiti Virala Charaha Katipaye. The ultimate conclusion that Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, in that he gets that vision. The Shriya Kantaha Kantaha Paramapurusha, the topmost lover, Kantaha Kanta Paramapurusha, that Govinda Adi Purusha, the topmost lover of Radharani, of all the gopis, is Sri Krishna Nandananda. Shriya Kantaha Kantaha Paramapurusha Kalpataravo. Millions and millions of different desire trees are there in Golok. Kalpataravo Dhruma Bhumis Chintamani. In that Katha Ganam Natyam Gamanapicha, where when they speak, it is that Katha or talking is like a song. When people open their mouth in Golok, when Krishna opens his mouth, when Radharani opens, when the Grajvasis of the Golokvasis, when they are talking, it appears that they are singing Katha Ganam. And then when they are walking, Katha Ganam Natyam Gamana Picha. When they are walking, It seems like every step is like a dance. Every gate is a dance. Katha Ganam Natyam Gamina Vicha Vamshi Priya Sakhi. And the best Sakhi or the best of the girlfriends is the flute. Vamshi Priya Sakhi. Everything in Golok Vrindavan or in the spiritual world, including the Vaikuntha Loka, everything is spiritual. It is chitta. Whether it is a flute or a table or a blade of grass, or in this material world, there are inanimate objects. But in the spiritual world, there is nothing known as inanimate. Everything is a jiva. So everything is special. If one is even a flute, or one is even a bangle, or one can be a jewel, a piece of jewelry, or one can be milk, or one can be a fruit, or one can be a vegetable, or one can be a table or a chair. Everything is a pure chitta jiva, chidananda, full of consciousness. So like that, Brahmaji has given this jnana. Shri Akanta Hakanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumis Chintamani. It is full of touchstone with gems. Chintamani. Like this, Brahmaji is being given this wonderful knowledge. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kevai. And so therefore, Brahmaji is given this special knowledge of the spiritual world and the material worlds. So I will end here right now on the Srimad-Bhagavatam first verse. This is a very, very deep verse, and I will continue next time. But today is a very special day, and especially Thakur Bhakti Vinod. It is one of our acharyas who is very, 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 very dear in our Vaishnava Acharya Sampradaya. I will begin by singing a very wonderful prayer. It is said, Srila Prabhupada used to say that whenever we are on these special tithis, on the appearances or disappearance, we never say it is the birthday of a Vaishnava Acharya. We don't say it is their death day. We say appearances as disappearance, because these acharyas, they are actually the Shaktis of Krishna. They are actually the Kaya views of Radharani. And they come here for a very special purpose. Just like the sunrise and the sunset. We do not say after the sun rises, we say that it is the sun's birthday. We say the sun has appeared. And when the sun sets, we do not say that the sun has died. We call it the sun disappeared, because they disappear from our vision. Similarly, these acharyas, they come and go according to the will of Radha and Krishna. And they come to do a certain task, to do a certain seva, and then they wind up their pastimes and they leave. Therefore, they are known as appearances and disappearance. And appearance day is known as the Abhirbhavocho, Abhirbhav Tithi, and the disappearance day is known as the Tirobhav Tithi. So Prabhupada used to say you can directly pray to them on this, especially on these tithis. Our parampara is, as I explained, is the proper systematic way is to approach through the proper parampara. We should never directly try to approach Radha Krishna, or directly even try to approach our acharyas directly. We should go through the proper das system. We are in the Aroha Pantha and the Avaroha Pantha. The Aroha Pantha, as I had explained, as in music, one who has understood music, Aroha means sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. So it is from lower notes to higher notes. So similarly, when we need mercy, then we have to pray to the immediate acharya. Then that prayer goes through the next acharya, the acharya above him, all the way to the lotus feet of Radha Krishna. So generally, we do not pray directly to these acharyas. We pray through Srila Prabhupada first. But Prabhupada said you can directly pray to them, especially on their appearances and disappearances. So I would like to actually offer Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur his own song that he has actually written to his acharyas, to his seniors, begging for their mercy. This song is known as Ohe Vaishnav Thakur. Thakur Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written so many wonderful songs. He had written over 100 different books, and most of them are even in the forms of songs. Some of the very, very important songs that he has written and contributed that some people don't realize that they sing, even in ISKCON, like Jai Radha Madhav. Prabhupada used to always sing Jai Radha Madhav before a Bhagavatam class. And that Jai Radha Madhav, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. So that is also written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur from a book called Gitavali. Even the other artis amongst them, like the Bhoga Arti in the afternoon, when the Bhoga is being offered to Sri Krishna, when a beautiful plate of Mahabhog, different wonderful varieties of items that are offered for Krishna for his lunch, that is known as the Bhoga Arti. That also has been composed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That is very famous. That song, Bhaja Bhakata Vatsala Shri Gaura Hari. Shri Gaura Hari, Sohi Goshta Vihari, Nanda Yashomati, Chitta Hari, Bhaja Bhakata Vatsala Shri Gaura Hari. And then in the evening, in the Sandhya Arti, that is also composed by Bhakti Vinod Thakurji, that famous Arti known as the Sandhya Arti. Kiva Jayo Jayo Gaura Chande Arati ke shobha Jhanavi Tatavane Jagamana Lobha Kiva Dakhine Nitai Chan Bame Gadadhara Nikate Advaita Shrini Vasa Chhatradhara. Also in Vrindavan, the Mangalarti is also composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that is being sung. Even like Samsara Davanal is considered the Mangalarti, that is the standard all over the world. But in Vrindavan, especially, Srila Prabhupada has given a very special position to one additional arti known as the Mangalarti, known as the Vibhavari Seva. That is also composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Vibhavari Sesha आलोक प्रवेश निद्रा छाड़ी उठो जीवा बोलो हरि हरि मुकुंद बोलो हरि राम कृष्ण हयग्रीवा नरसिंह वामन श्री मधुसूदन ब्रजेंद्र नंदन श्याम. So like that, so many wonderful songs Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed. Last Sunday, I sang one wonderful bhajan that corresponds to this first verse of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, that everything, Janmadi Yasya, Tumi Sarvesh Vareshwara Vrajendra Kumar. So, you are indeed the all Sarveshwareshwara, the master of the master, the controller of the controllers, O Vrajendra Kumar, the youthful son of the king of Vraja, the Vrajendra Kumar. So like this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually, he appeared in the year 1838 in Bengal. And I would like to dedicate his own song today. This particular song is from one of his books that he has written in the song form, in the book called Sharanagati. It's a wonderful book. Maybe after, I don't know when, but hopefully one day, if I'm inspired and if devotees are inspired, I can do some seminars on some bhajans just from Thakur Bhaktivinod's book called Sharanagati. He has written, there are 6 different angas or branches of bhakti or Sharanagati. Sharanagati, Sharan means surrender. And Sharanagati is a Sanskrit word that is a combination of 2 words, Sharan plus Agati. What kind of surrender? A lot of devotees are surrendered to the Supreme Lord, but we are not fully surrendered. Our surrender is Mishra. It is mixed. We want material things. Also, we want to hang on to that. And also, we want some bhakti. We want both. We want to hang on to both. We want to hang on to family. We want to hang on to Krishna. We want this, but we also want this. So that is not Purna Sharanagati. That is not the kind of Sharanagati that Krishna is stating in the Bhagavad Gita. The Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. That Sharanam Vraja, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is very nicely, those 2 words of the Bhagavad Gita is explained in his book called Sharanagati. Sharan plus Agati. Agati means motionless. Gati means motion. So basically, that kind of Sharanagati that Krishna, remember one thing, that I have surrendered to you. The bhav of the gopis. Whether you kick us or you embrace us. Ashlesha pada ratam pinashtubam adarshanam marmo harto karotuva yatha tathava vidhato lampato mat prana nathas sa evana para. Mahaprabhu, this is Mahaprabhu's, the composition, Sistastakam, the 8th verse from Mahaprabhu's lotus mouth. In the Gambhira, in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu's, this wonderful Sistastakam emanated from his mouth. And in that bhav of Radharani, in the bhav of the gopis, he's saying that Krishna, whether you embrace us or kick us. Like Krishna, after playing the flute in the middle of the night, all the gopis left their houses, their husbands, their families, all their social norms, and they went to the deepest part of the jungle in Vamshivat to meet Gopinath, the lover of all the gopis, Sri Krishna, Nandan, and Krishna says, go back. I don't want to see you. Think about it. What will happen if they find out that you're with a young boy, you're coming to see him in the middle of the night, and that to an unmarried boy? This is not right. You should go back. Krishna is advising. So then the essence of the Venu Geet in the Srimad-Bhagavatam is Krishna is saying, go back. But they say that no, whether you want to kick us or you want to embrace us, you are our Nath, birth after birth after birth. Oh Krishna, those husbands, etc., they are basically just images of you. They are your expansions, but you are the real husband, oh Krishna. So this is a wonderful, very, very high level subject matters to be understood as we progress in our bhakti, but we have to have a very, very good foundation in sadhana bhakti in order to understand these higher spiritual subject matters. So that is called agati, whether you kick us or you embrace us. Sometimes we go to the temple, we go to the church, we go to the mosque, people go, even there is trouble when they are arti. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, arti, artharthi, gani and jigyasu. 4 kinds of persons come to me, generally speaking, not for real bhakti. Either they are distressed, they have some dukh in their life. Arti, artharthi, they don't have money, so they come to the temple. Gyani and jigyasu, inquisitiveness and for knowledge, they come to pray to me, which is okay, not bad. We are not saying, but that is not the highest. That is not ahetuki bhakti, that is hetu bhakti. And Srimad-Bhagavatam pronounces that one should, what kind of bhakti one should do? Ahetuki bhakti. Yena atma suprasidati. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje. Ahetuki apratiyata jena atma suprasidati. That kind of bhakti which is without any tinge of materialism. It should be beyond any gyan and karma, without any kind of material motive, and that should be uninterrupted. Very nice word Srimad-Bhagavatam has used, Vyasadeva, apratiyata. Not that right now I am in distress, I will knock the doors of the temple more and more, and once my problem is over, then goodbye, see you Krishna, see you only on Janmashtami or on Diwali. Otherwise every evening praying to Krishna, Krishna, this is the problem, please help me, blah 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 blah, please help me, please. More and more chakkar we go to the temple. That is not apratiyata, that is pratiyata. It is circumstantial, we go. So that is not sharanagati. There is some surrender, but agati means motionless. Whether sukhe dukhe bhule nako, gai gora madhurasware. Whether in distress or in happiness, I will always, you are my Lord and Master, birth after birth. That is sharanagati, motionless. Krishna, whether you look at me or you don't look at me, you are mine. I am not going to move from your lotus feet. This is the definition of Sharanagati that Bhaktivedanta Thakura has given. What can I say? I can probably, share with you all so many wonderful things about this Acharya. It can take several sessions. Such a great personality. So I will pray one bhajan. And, if you all can, I can give you about half a minute to look it up on your smartphones. It is just Google in it, Ohe Vaishnav Thakur. Ohe, O-H-E, Vaishnava Thakura. And if you Google that, you will find, and just do lyrics, and you will find that song, and you can sing along. It's a 4-stanza song. You can sing along. It's a prayer. One thing that we have to understand, that we are so, we can say, not educated in spiritual life, that we don't even know how to pray. How to pray to the gurus, to the acharyas. What should we pray? We have mentioned that in the past, that sometimes when we go and when we see a great personality visit us, when we go to the temple, sometimes we see some very nice saintly persons, but we don't have any kind of proper prayer at their lotus feet. How we should pray? How we should pray to them? What should we ask them? What kind of blessings? We don't know. Then we have to learn from those acharyas what they are praying to their gurus, to the pure devotees. That is the proper lesson. So, like that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written wonderful prayers, and one of the prayers is, "O he Vaishnava Thakur Dayara Shagar." So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing, and he has composed this in Sharanagati. O he Vaishnava Thakura Dayaro Shagura Hidashe Karuna Kori Diya Pada Chaya Shodo He Amai Tomara Charan Hari O he Vaishnava Thakura Dayar Shagora Hidashe Karuna Kori Chaya Bego Domi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dashe Chaya Shat Sanga Deho He Amare Boshechi Shangerayashe O he Vaishnava Thakura Dayaro Shagara Hidashe Karuna Kori Ekhaki Ama Nahi Paye Bala Hari Nama Sankirtane Ekhaki Amar Nahi Paye Bala Hari Nama Sankirtane Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Devo Krishna Nam Dhane Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Dhane O he Vaishnava Thakura Dayaro Shagara Ei Dashe Karuna Kori Krishna se tomar Krishna dite para Tumara Shakati Ache Krishna se tomar Krishna dite par Tumara Shakati Ache Amito Kangal Krishna Krishna Boli Aitava Pache Pache Krishna se tomar Krishna dite paro O Vaishnava Thakur Dayal Vaishnava Thakur Krishna se tomar Krishna dite par Tomara Shakati Ache Amito Kangal Krishna Krishna Boli Dhaitava Pache Pache Amito Kangal Krishna Krishna Boli Dhaitava Pache Pache O he Vaishnava Thakura Dayaro Shagara Hidashe Karuna Kori Just like when we pray to the Ganga or the Jamuna, what do? We offer their own waters of the Ganga or Jamuna as an oblation. Like we say, Tera Tujhko Arpan. We offer whatever is the same. Even in when we're offering prayers to Gangaji, we offer the waters of Ganga to Gangaji. Similarly, we are offering this prayer to Bhaktivinoda Thakur that was composed by him. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his prayers, he is begging mercy from the other acharyas who are actually the personal associates of Radharani. O Vaishnav Thakur Dayara Sagar, oh, you are the ocean of mercy, O Vaishnav Thakur, E Dashe Karuna Kari, please have mercy on the servant and have mercy, Karuna Kari, have mercy on this servant. O Vaishnav Thakur Dayara Sagar, the ocean of mercy, O Vaishnav Thakur, and E Dashe Karuna Kari. He's begging for mercy. Karuna Kari. Diya pad chaya shodho e amai tomara charan dhari. Please give me place your lotus feet. Diya pad chaya shodho e amai and purify me. He's taking such a humble position that I am impure. So this is for us. We are all very, very impure. So we should pray like this to Srila Prabhupada, to the Vaishnava Acharyas, to Guru Janas, that I'm so impure. Diya pada chaya shodho yama. Shodho means please purify me. Tomara charana dhari. I am actually holding your lotus feet. I'm begging in humility. Chaya vegadami, chaya dosha shodhi, chaya guna deho dashe, chaya satsanga deho he amara, bosechi sange rashe. And what are we going to ask? We are asking, O Bhaktivinoda Thakurji, please, O Srila Prabhupada, O Acharyas, O pure devotees, please teach me to control Chaya Vega. The 6 different urges. This is Shastra. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all his bhajans are based on pure Shastras. This is actually from Bhakti Rasam Siddhu of Rupa Goswami, or from the Updeshamrita of Bhakti, the first verse. Here he is mentioning that the 6 passions or the 6 urges, please help me to control those. What are those 6 urges? The urges of the words, the minds, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, the anger, how to control my anger, the tongue, Jiva Vegam, Udara, the stomach, Udara Vegam, how to control the wants of the stomach, and the genitals, Upastha Vegam. All these things, Chaya Vegadami, these are called Vegas. And these actually, they bring us again and again back into the material world because they make us godas. They make us servants of our indriyas or our senses. So please help me control these and control my mind and my anger, my tongue, my words, my stomach and genitals. Chaya Vegadami, Chaya Dosha Shodhi. The 6 different faults, doshas. What are these? Like Rupa Goswami has explained that in the Bhakti Rasam Siddha, Pratyahar, overeating. We should not overeat just because we have money, we have so many things. People just stuff themselves more than necessary. That is called Atyahar. Atyahar also means over collecting of money. One should not necessarily make that special endeavor to collect so much money just so that we waste our lives like that. If Krishna has given us sufficient roti, kapda, makan, he has given us a place to stay, enough to eat, then we should dedicate more of our time in Krishna Bhakti to cultivate that. So here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying that what Rupa Goswami has taught in the Bhakti Rasam Sindhu, the 6 different faults of overeating or collecting things, attachment to material things, inability to follow the regulative principles, that is called the excessive, like following too many rules and regulations very strictly without understanding the essence of bhakti, or following too little rules and regulations. So that is known as the pratyahar. And the other one is atyahar. Atyahar means collecting, eating more, and collecting more money, wealth. So these are the 6 different faults that Chaya Vegadami, Chaya Dosha Sodhi, inability to follow the regulative principles. When we do not follow the regulative principles too much or too little, and then sense gratification, when we do indriya tripti, when we are simply involved in bhoga, in simply enjoyment, and gramya katha, or idle, useless talk. Most of the time, what is our life revolving around? What are our conversations? Are they Krishna conscious conversations? After this 2 hour session or so, or once we do, when we go to the temple, we sit in a Harikatha. So maybe for 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, we sit, we hear, and after that, prasadam time, or otherwise, we see if we keep our ears, even in the temple, people are doing Gramya Katha. They're talking about what is going on in the news. They're talking about all mundane subjects. They're talking about business. They're talking about the stock market. See, this is so here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying that all these different kinds of faults, Chaya Vega Dami, the different urges of the senses, the different faults, Chaya Dosha Shodhi, please purify me. And he is saying that all the different impure habits that I have, please help me eradicate that, because you are pure. You can help me to eradicate those bad habits. And then he's saying, give me Chaya Vega Dami, Chaya Dosha Shodhi, Chaya Guna Dehodashe. Give me the 6 good qualities, Chaya Guna Dehodashe. You are able to give me that. And what are those 6 good qualities or the positivity in the in that in the devotional service is firm faith. This is also from Rupa Goswami's teachings, that what is that? That one should be firm in faith. Nischaya, one should be completely steadfast, a dhairya, a strong desire to attain prem bhakti. We are not very desirous of attaining prema bhakti. We just want that, okay, we should do. If you really analyze our lives, those who are very serious in our lives, think about it. Why are we attending these classes? Why are we doing this? Sometimes we give that as a back burner. Most of us, we never are on time. The Guruji or whoever is speaking on the Vyasasan, he is there, but the devotees are not there. Or they start trickling in. They come in late, they come in half hour late, they come in 45 minutes late, they come in the last 10 minutes, they come during prasadam time. So we are not very much interested to take to this pure bhakti process. We are interested because, this will do us some benefit. And mostly we are attracted because by hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam and all, maybe we will get some material benefits, we will get more money, etc. No. So this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying, that the Chaya Gun, the 6 different gunas, is the strong desire to attain prem bhakti, like that of the Vrajvasis. A favorable service attitude, anukulena Krishna anushilanam, whatever is favorable to bhakti, bhakti anukulya karya kare jo svikar, I will accept that. Hari Bhakti Vilas, Gopala Bhatta Goswami has mentioned that. And the avoidance of the company of non-devotees. This is what he's also praying, that that's a good quality. We should try to avoid the company of non-devotees, people who are so addicted to mundane life, drinking, other dirty habits. So all these things we should avoid. So he's asking for that, and appreciation of devotees. So Jaya Guna Dehodashe, and the different association methods that we can, or the satsang, that is what he's asking for, like this. So, and then he's asking for the 6 different Chaya Gunata, Chaya Satsanga Dehoye Amare, the 6 different kind of associations. He's begging the mercy. So what are the 6 different kinds of satsangs or the association of devotees? The appreciation of the company of devotees. The 6 methods of that association is to assemble with devotees, or to invite devotees in one's house, and when devotees invite us, we should go to their house and discuss spiritual topics or devotional topics, to take the Mahaprasad that has been offered by devotees, and to offer Mahaprasad to devotees. So Chaya Vegadami, Chaya Doshashodhi, Chaya Guna Dehodashe, Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare. 6 kinds of association. Please give me Deho Satsange Amare Bosechi Sange Rase, that I would like to sit with, that I would like to associate with. Like that, he's saying that Ekaki Amar Nahi Paibal Harinam Sankirtane. I am thinking, like we think that, oh, we can chant the holy name, we are so powerful. Sometimes we chant 16 good rounds, 16 bad rounds, 64 good rounds. Some of the devotees are chanting all day, and they are well known to be chanting so many number of rounds, and they like to be well known by that. Srila Prabhupada once, one devotee came and told Prabhupada that, oh, one of your disciples, he's going in the forest and he's chanting so many rounds. And Prabhupada said, that is bogus. He's just trying to attract attention. So Prabhupada knows, Vaishnavas know that what is the reason. Sometimes people, they want to be a show bottle, big tilak, big malas, 5 kilo malas they have, and they wear those and they want to be known as big babas and all that. That is show bottle business. One should not make a show of their bhakti. That is not required. So, like that, he's saying, Ekaki amar nahi paye bal harinam sankirtan. He's admitting. And that is the real lakshan or the symptom of a pure devotee, that I do not have on my own the strength. Ekaki amar nahi paye bal harinam sankirtan. To take real harinam, or the Samyak Kirtan iti Sankirtan. Samyak Kirtan, Sankirtan means, there are many meanings of the word Sankirtan, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his son, has explained, even Bhaktivedanta Thakur has explained in the glories of the holy name, what is Sankirtan. Sankirtan, one means that congregational chanting of the holy names in Kali Yuga, when many people come together and chant the holy name. But Sankirtan means Samyak Kirtan iti Sankirtan. Samyak means full. Full means complete, and complete means topmost. And what is that? That kirtan that glorifies Radha and Krishna. Nandan and Vrishabhanu Nandini, that is Sankirtan. Yes, indeed. Ekaki amar nahi payable Harinam Sankirtan. This Harinam Sankirtan is not ordinary. Golokera prema dhana Harinam Sankirtan. We have no idea how amazing and what this Harinam Sankirtan is capable of giving us. Golokera prema dhana. That prema dhana, that wealth of Golok Vrindavan is there in this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So he is begging, Ekaki amar nahi payable Harinam Sankirtan. I do not have that strength on my own. Therefore, give me that proper Harinam. What I am chanting is Namabhas. I am chanting Namaprad. This is a subject of another, and there is Shuddhanam. So what he is begging is for Shuddhanam. Although he himself is the embodiment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shakti. Nama Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupa Nuga Varayate. That is Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Pranam Mantra. Nama Bhakti Vinodaya. Offer my obeisances to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Bhakti Vinod, what does it mean? Bhakti means bhakti, pure devotional service. Vinod means pleasure. One who gives pleasure to Radha and Krishna, he is aptly named Bhakti Vinod. And one who gets pleasure in the service of Radha and Krishna is Bhakti Vinod. Amazing. Just his name, Bhakti Vinod. Nama Bhakti Vinodaya, Satchidananda Namine. He was known as Satchidananda Namine. Known as Sat Chit Ananda Namine. He was known as Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur. That was his name. Sat means eternal. He is eternally in the service of Radha and Krishna. Chitta, fully knowledgeable that Radha Rani is my Praneshwari. That is full knowledge. As a Manjari, as Kamla Manjari. In the eternal service of Radha and Krishna. Chitta and Ananda is full of bliss. In the service of Sri Radha. Service of Nanda Nandan and Radha Rani. Satchidananda Namine. Nama Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Gaura Shakti Swarupaya. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shakti is a Shakti. And who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He is combination of Radha and Krishna. He is Radha Krishna. He is Krishna in the bhava of Sri Radha. So that bhava of Radha Shakti is Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Gaura Shakti Swarupa Rupa Nuga Varayate. And he is indeed the crest jewel amongst the followers of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Nuga Varayate. That is the Pranam Mantra of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So he is praying like this. That Ekaki amar nahi paye bar Harinam Sankirtane. Tumi kripa kari Shraddha Bindu diya. Please give me one. I'm begging. Oh Acharya, oh Vaishnava Acharya. Give me one little drop of real faith. Shraddha Bindu diya. Deho Krishna Naam Dhane. Give me the wealth of Krishna Naam. Because wealth of Krishna Naam is Sri Krishna. The wealth of Krishna Naam is Sri Radha. The wealth of Krishna Naam Hara or Hare is the gopis, is the manjaris. Please give me that. Krishna se tomar Krishna dite par, tomar shakti ache. That is what he's praying. These are real prayers. My dear friends, my dear Prabhus, my dear Matajis. This is what we should be learning. Just the 4 stanza bhajan, but so deep. Krishna se tomar Krishna dite par. Krishna is yours. Krishna dite par. You can give Krishna. Not some nonsense person who may have memorized the Bhagavad Gita shlokas or Bhagavatam and he is asking lakhs of rupees or crore of rupees and asking for so much this and that, man, samman, pratishta. What can that person can give Krishna? Not possible. If I don't have even 1 single rupee or $1 in my bank account, and if I give you a check for $1,000, then am I not a cheat? I'm giving you something that I don't have. I'm pretending to give you. So similarly, Krishna se tomar Krishna dite par. Krishna is yours. Govinda kahe na Vaishnava mama pran. Tumhara hriday sada Govinda Vishram. Those who have that, they can give. Those who are nonsense, what they can give? They will only cheat. Prabhupada said, cheaters and the cheated. But the pure Vaishnava Acharya will never cheat anybody. He's here simply out of pure compassion. Gaura Shakti Swarupaya. Krishna se tomar Krishna dite par. Tomar Shakti ache. You indeed have that strength to give. Ami to Kangal, he's saying. Such a pure Vaishnava, Radharani is Prana Sakhi. He's saying, Ami to Kangal, I don't have anything. Kangal, I'm bereft, I'm a bhikari, I'm a beggar. And I'm simply saying, Krishna, 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 Krishna boli. Dhai tava pache pache. I'm simply running after you so that I can get a drop of mercy. And if we start chanting 1 round, 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 16 rounds, 60 rounds, we think we are great, better than other devotees. Are we really chanting the holy name? We have to analyze ourselves. Are we begging? Are we sitting in Srila Prabhupada in front of Prabhupada and saying these same prayers? Oh, hey Vaishnava Thakur Srila Prabhupada, Dayara Shagar. In the Guru Puja, everybody wants to dance. Aha Prabhu karo daya deho more pad chaya eveyas gusuk tribhuvana. And after that, back to our routine of nonsense. No. Inside, we have to cry. This pure bhakti process is not meant for cheaters. In the second verse, we will study that in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Dharma pro jitta kaitavatra parmo nirmat saranam satam. Srimad-Bhagavatam rejects all kinds of cheating variety of religions. We will go into detail when we go into verse number 2. So this is our Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He appeared in 1838 and he was known as Kedarnath Datta, Bengali, in a Bengali family. There's so many wonderful pastimes. I actually would like to prefer to read something so that we can save some time. And I will go to the point where he was so educated that he was actually born in a very rich family. But later on, due to circumstances, all the wealth was completely gone and he became very poor because of the maternal uncle. And then one of his maternal uncles through his parental, whatever he had inherited, they lost everything. And then one of his maternal uncles was very, very well educated under the British, and he actually took him to Calcutta and he gave him an education in English, and he was a wonderful writer, and many, many people used to come to Bhaktivinoda Thakur to examine their writings, although they may be a mundane in nature, but he also taught. He was a teacher, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then later on, he became a collector and he became a magistrate. Especially, there are some wonderful pastimes in Puri, so I will jump straight into that. So in Puri, Sri Kedarnath Datta, or later on known as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, studied Srimad-Bhagavatam with the commentary of Sridhar Swami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated Sridhar Swami a lot. This was in the 11th century, Sridhar Swami. And he approved Sridhar Swami's commentary of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And whenever anybody else came with other commentaries, he would actually go through Sarup Damodar Goswami, who is none other than Lalita Sakhi. If you all remember, I have mentioned that many times, that in the Gambhira, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was accompanied by two of his most intimate associates, Lalita and Vishaka, in the form of Sarup Damodar Goswami and Rai Ramananda. We, in Radha Ashtami, the second day, we described the conversation with the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda, who is Visakha Sakhi in the Nitya Leela. So, Kedarnath Datta studied the Srimad-Bhagavatam and especially the commentary of Sridhar Swami. So that is not a surprise. Sometimes when a great personality comes, he lives like an ordinary person. He goes through the ordinary educational system, like Prabhupada also studied in the Kolkata, in the Scottish Church's college, etc. And then, after a certain time, when the time is right, he manifests his different transcendental powers, because they are all Shakti-avesta avatar. And the time has come. So like that, he actually studied the commentary of Sridhar Swami, and he also copied out in longhand the Shada Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami while sitting in Jagannath Puri. Jiva Goswami also is one of the manjaris known as the Vilas Manjari, one of the most intimate manjaris in Radha Dasyam, and the nephew of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So he has composed 6 Sandarbhas. So he made a special study of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasam Sindhu and all these wonderful books in Jagannath Puri. And between the years of 1874 and 1893, Bhaktivinoda Thakur spent much time in seclusion chanting the holy name. So this is something that is a very good quality of the Acharyas. Like even Prabhupada, he spent a lot of time in seclusion in Seva Kunj, in Vrindavan. About 10 years he spent chanting the holy name. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's Gurudev, he spent about 10 years in Navadvip chanting the holy name. So this is a very, very important thing. Those who are very serious about their spiritual life must chant the holy name. Holy names is a very, very important. I urge all of you to at least chant one round of the Mahamantra, those of you who are not chanting. And then you will see how much the holy name reveals to you. It's not something ordinary. This is something that has to be personally experienced. Just like if somebody asks me, let's say some Westerner, okay, somebody who is let's say a Canadian or an American. So, hey man, I've heard about this Indian sweet gulab jamun. Can you tell me what it is? So how much can I describe gulab jamun? Just to give you an example, most of you all who are attending are all know what gulab jamun is. And for me, if I describe, it is a reddish ball, it is fried in pure clarified butter with some essences, and it has got cardamom in it, and I can keep on describing and probably write a whole novel. But that person will never ever understand a gulab jamun until unless he picks it up, puts it in his mouth and tastes it. So similarly, the holy name is like that. I highly recommend those who are serious about the spiritual life, about pure bhakti, please chant the holy names. I request you. So like that, he spent a lot of time in seclusion just chanting the holy names in Jagannath Puri. And then he wrote several books in Sanskrit, including one very famous book known as the Krishna Samhita, Tattva Sutram, and Tattva Vivek, which have been cited in so many. He wrote small and big books like the Kalyan Kalpataru, that's full of wonderful songs like Gopinath, Mama Nivedana Shuno, Vishai Durjana, Sada Kamerata, Vishai Durjana, Kichu Nahi Mora Guna, Gopinath, Amara Bharosha Tumi. Like that, he has written wonderful bhajans. Each and every bhajan is so amazing. So this Gopinath Mama Nivedana Suno, oh Gopinath, please listen to my fervent prayers. Mama Nivedan Suno. This bhajan is from this book, Kalyan Kalpataru. In 1874, he composed Datta Kaustubha in Sanskrit. And while he was in Puri, he established a Vaishnava discussion society known as the Bhagavat Samstha. And in the Jagannath Vallabh Gardens in Jagannath Puri, there is a place known as the Jagannath Vallabh Gardens where Sri Ramanand Rai, he did his bhajan. Ramanand Rai is again none other than Vitaka Saki. All the prominent Vaishnavas joined this group, and like this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was amazing. How he inspired the Vaishnavas. He had the natural affection for many devotees, and like that, he encouraged everyone into pure bhakti. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was one of our age's most foremost devotional scholars in those age, and yet he humbly presents himself as an insignificant messenger of the Lord, as we can see through his writings. And we sang this bhajan, Ohe Vaishnav Thakur. And then he got this inspiration to compile the book, which is the commentary of Srimad-Bhagavatam, which I originally mentioned in the beginning, known as the Srimad-Bhagavat Arka Marichmala. That is a divine mystery Bhaktivinoda Thakur admits very humbly, which I felt not proper for my part to disclose. But somehow or the other, he discloses just to glorify Sarup Damodarji. Sarup Damodarji, although he was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 530 years ago or 500 or odd years ago, he actually came to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his dreams. And he has mentioned Bhaktivinoda Thakur that how he had been given the explanation of Srimad-Bhagavatam's first verse directly by Sarup Damodar Goswami. And Sarup Damodar Goswami is Lalita Sakhi. So Lalita Sakhi actually, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his explanation of the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, which we are presently discussing, he explains that in the commentary of Srimad-Bhagavatam, Srimad-Bhagavata Arka Marichmala. And like that, he appreciates the blessings of Sarup Damodar Goswami, and he realizes that it would be an undoing to my spiritual master, which might stand as an obstacle on the path of my spiritual progress. Therefore, without any shame, I record the fact that while under the benediction of my guru, actually his guru was Sri Bipin Bihari Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had taken Harinam Diksha from Vipin Bihari Goswami, who belonged to the great heritage of Thakur Vamshivadan Thakur. Vamshivadan Thakur was also a great Vaishnava Acharya, a faithful follower of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and was deeply when he was deeply meditating on the Srimad-Bhagavatam, one day in a vision, Sri Sarup Damodar Goswami instructed him to compile the slokas of Srimad-Bhagavatam in accordance to the Sambandha, Abhidya and Prayojana. There are three different levels of progress in bhakti. Sambandha means first we establish our relationship with Sri Krishna. Abhidya is the process of establishing that sambandha, which is chanting, hearing, etc. And then once that process is successful, we enter into the third stage known as prayojan. That prayojan is the ultimate goal. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Radha Raman Krishna, Nandanandan Krishna. That is the prayojan of all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, or the prayojan is Radha Dasyam. So this is late, and based on these three principles, he was encouraged in a vision by Sarup Damodar Goswami, based on the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to comment on Srimad-Bhagavatam, so that this book, the Bhagavatam commentary, will be read with an easy understanding, with great interest and delight by the loving devotees of the Lord. So Sri Sarup Damodar Goswami, actually, he is the one who further guided me, Bhaktivinoda Thakur admits, by giving me a wonderful explanation on the shloka of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and also showed me how to explain the shlokas under the light of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So, like this, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur became, I don't know how many of you all know this, especially some of you all are from Orissa, involved with the Jagannath Rath Yatra in Canada. Bhaktivinoda Thakur became a manager of the Jagannath Puri temple. How many of you all know that? He used this because he was a very highly respected personality, a district magistrate, very learned scholar, and also he was in the corporate, corporator. So he had a great respect. So in the Jagannath Puri temple courtyard, he actually established, Bhaktivinoda Thakurji established a Bhakti Mandap where daily discourses of Srimad-Bhagavatam were held. Amazing. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur would spend long hours discussing Krishna and chanting the holy name, especially at another place known as the Tota Gopinath Mandir. How many of you all visited when you go to Jagannath Temple, Jagannath Puri, one must at least visit not only the Puri temple, but also visit Tota Gopinath, visit the Gambira, visit Haridas Thakur's Bhajan Sthali, and not too far, about 30 kilometers away, is the Alarnath temple and Rai Ramanand's home or the birthplace of Rai Ramananda. Amongst all those different places, one should visit those. So the Tota Gopinath is the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to hear Srimad-Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. And Tota means a garden in Odia. And Gopinath means there was a temple in that garden of Gopinath. And actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he disappeared, wound up his pastimes, and before he went to Golok, he actually merged into the Gopinath, in Tota Gopinath in Puri. So even today, if we take darshan, there is a small crack in that deity. And that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the deity of Gopinath in the Tota Gopinath temple. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to read Srimad Bhagavatam there at the Tota Gopinath temple also. And then also at the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur. There is the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur in Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur. When Haridas Thakur passed away, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the body of Haridas Thakur in his own hands and he danced and he gave him the title of Namacharya. Haridas Thakur. Every day when we say the Jai Dhwani, we say Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, etc. So that is called the Jai Dhwani. So Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur took the blessings of such Vaishnavas while in Puri. He took full advantage of his spiritual life, and he would spend long hours discussing Krishna Katha and chanting the holy name at these places. Near the Jagannath Vallabh Gardens, there is a large house adjacent to a place called Narayan Chata. There is a mutt known as the Narayan Chat mutt. And on the 5th day of the dark in the Krishna Paksha, in the month of Magh, in February, in the year 1974, his 4th son, known of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, took birth, and his name was Bimla Prasad. He was known as Bimla Prasad because the consort of Lord Jagannath is Bimla Devi. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to fervently pray to Lord Jagannath and to Bimla Devi, please give me a son that can help me establish the pure principles of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the pure principles of Krishna Bhakti based on the lines of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because this particular 4th son, after his prayers appeared, he gave him the name known as the name was due to the consort of Chaitanya of Lord Jagannath, is Bimla Devi. His name was Bimala Prasad or Bimla Prasad, and he was none other than the Gurudev in the future of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So as a householder, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kedarnath Datta actually had married one wife, and he passed away, and then he married another one by the name of Bhagavati Devi, and very, very pure devotee. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a grihastha. He had 10 children, and with great, and he was such a Vaishnava scholar. We think that we have 1 or 2 children and we have a family, we don't have time for bhakti. But can you believe that he was the perfect magistrate? As a matter of fact, it is said that whenever he went on the bench as a judge, he was perhaps the only Indian judge at that time. And the Britishers, some of the envious judges, would want to try to find fault in his judgments. He used to hear about 50 cases a day, and all the judgments were perfect. And he used to wind up everything by 2 p.m. And all the British judges used to and the lawyers, the British lawyers were surprised. And he was faultless. And he was sometimes given the toughest of the cases, because dealing with the Indians at that time, sometimes Muslims, sometimes the different castes, etc. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur had understood so everything so nicely. So even the British judges had actually had to bow down before him, and some of the toughest cases were given to him, and he was flawless. Some of the envious persons in the British law system, they could not find any fault, zero fault. So 10 children, a father of 10, and in spite of that, he used to wind up his all his mundane activities and come home and compile different bhakti books and teach his son, especially Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati or Bimla Prasad. So, as a household of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had 10 children, and like that, he brought forth one of the best from Golok Vrindavan, Bimla Prasad. And he actually is also known as the ray of Vishnu. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had asked Lord Jagannath, please send me somebody to assist him. So like this. And when the child was only 6 months old, Lord Jagannath's cart during the Rath Yatra, I'd mentioned this in the Rath Yatra Katha, that about a kilometer away from the temple, the main temple, on Bododanda, on the Grand Road, there is the actual house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimla Prasad, was born. And when I was 6 months old only, during the Rath Yatra festival, Bhaktivinoda Thakur came out to take darshan, because actually the Rath would not move. No matter how hard the devotees tried to move the Rath would just stop, because Lord Jagannath, Krishna, Nandan wanted to see his two greatest devotees, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimla Prasad. So the father asked the Bhagavati Devi, his wife, please bring our 6-month-old boy outside, and maybe he can get the darshan of Lord Jagannath. And because of his stature as a great Vaishnava, he was very, very revered and respected, because he was also one of the managers of the Jagannath temple. So he was allowed on the cart, and the little baby boy, Bimla Prasad, was placed at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath, and immediately a huge garland of Lord Jagannath fell, encircling the baby boy. And that showed how Lord Jagannath wanted to take darshan of his devotee, and how he gave darshan to both these devotees. And after they came down from the cart, Lord Jagannath's cart started moving the whole procession of the Rath Yatra. So this is an amazing pastime about Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra. Also, the first Annaprasan ceremony, the first grains of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur took place in Jagannath Puri. That was performed at the time of and with Jagannath Prasad. So Bimla Prasad stayed in Puri for 10 months, and after that, along with his mother, went back to Bengal in a palanquin on his mother's lap in his infancy, and spent in the Nadia district, hearing topics about Sri Hari from his mother. And Srila Bhakti Vinod and his wife were orthodox and virtuous, and they were never allowed their children to eat anything other than prasad. So like this one time, when there were some mangoes that came to their house during the mango season, and Bimla Prasad, a young boy, only 5 or 6 years old, he picked up a mango and started eating it. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur chastised him that, my dear son, of course he knew who he is, because he is actually one of the assistants of Srimati Radharani in the Golok Vrindavan. But he says, I'm in the role of your father, so I must correct you if you make a mistake. So please forgive me. He used to actually ask for forgiveness before he chastised his son. And he says that you should only take Krishna Prasadam. And that boy, since then, he took that too much to his heart, that he gave up mango. He did not touch mango for the rest of his life. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, after he became such a great acharya in the Gaudiya Math, when so many devotees used to come to take darshan, they used to offer him so many different things, including sweet mangoes. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would touch the mangoes to his forehead. He says, I am an offender of Krishna. I've offended Krishna because I took these mangoes without offering to him. So I will just honor them by touching them, but I will not take them. And he punished himself like that. These are the great acharyas. Amazing. Till the end, he never touched a single mango. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like that, he has such a great contribution. What can I say? Time is short. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered that in Jagannath Puri, at that time, whoever was the king was misappropriating funds from the temple. It is said that 80,000 rupees that king had taken for his sense gratification, and this money belonged to the temple. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur forced the king to give Lord Jagannath Bhoga 52 times a day. So all of the money that he had stolen or taken away in an unauthorized way, most of that money would be recouped, and so that he would also get purified for his improper activity. So, like this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is an amazing. He left Puri on special business, returned to Bengal, saw Navadvip, Shantipur, and Kalna. So he went to Navadvip, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which actually he was responsible for discovering. Shantipur is the birthplace of Advaita Acharya, and Kalna is a place, Ambika Kalna, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu stayed at the house of a wonderful devotee by the name of uh, Gauridas Pandit. He was put in charge of the subdivision like that because of his position. And he was getting many transfers as magistrate. And after that, he was transferred to the Bardak. So, like that, in 1878, he was made head of the subdivision in that area. And while in Naraila, his two famous books of Krishna Samhita and Krishna Kalpataru were published. Krishna Samhita is an amazing book also that also describes the creation of Krishna, the different wonderful spiritual worlds and the worlds, the material worlds. So like this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was representing the Vaishnavas in a very wonderful way, spending his time writing many books. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur took Diksha in the Pancharatrika Diksha. So there are 5 different ways. It's called the Pancharatrika Diksha, initiation from Bipin Bihari Goswami, who descended from the Janva Mata family or the Vamshivadan Thakur. And Janva Mata was the consort of Nityananda Prabhu. And Bipin Bihari Goswami, he descended from that lineage. At that same time, his 7th son, Lalit Prasad, appeared at also. So his 7th son is also known as Lalit Prasad. And then he also wrote a Vaishnava book at that time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave once took his son to take darshan of his guru. And at that time, when he was bowing down to his guru, Bipin Bihari Goswami, at that time, Bipin Bihari Goswami, he put his feet on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's head. And that time he was only accompanied by his young son, 7-year-old son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, or known as Bimla Prasad. And he actually, after bowing down, he left. But his son, his son Bimla Prasad stayed back and he said that, you know what you have just done? How dare you do that? You know who my father is? My father is Kamla Manjari. He is the assistant of Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world. You think you are a big guru just because my father gives you respect. You think that you can put your feet on my father's head, and like that he kind of admonished Bipin Bihari Goswami. So like this, he knew that Bipin Bihari Goswami was a Kanishta Adhikari Guru, and his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur was Uttam Adhikari Guru, and like this he kind of admonishes a 7-year-old boy, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur afterwards he heard about it, and sometimes he would laugh and tell some of the other Vaishnavas how my son admonished, and he knows that who I am. And of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Nayana Manjari, one of the Pran Parishta Sakhis of Radharani. So, like this, there are so many wonderful pastimes. Like, what can I say? Time is short. We are running time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also published the first magazine, the real Vaishnava magazine known as Sajjan Toshani, or known as the Harmonist, which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur continued. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada continued in his footsteps by publishing Bhagavad Darshan, or Back to Godhead, that magazine. But the inspiration was Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So in 1881, he published those magazines, started publishing the Sajjan Toshani, or the Harmonist. The Harmonist was the English version. And then Like that, he went to Vrindavan. Then he came back to Calcutta. He bought a house in Calcutta, and there also he did some bhakti because of his time as a magistrate. He had to do many other businesses, and then he retired. And then he went to Govardhan Hill, and that house is called Bhakti Bhavan. Also, there is a wonderful place of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Those who have gone to Radhakund in Govardhan, he has a house in one of the very small lanes, very close to the samadhi of Raghunath Das Goswami, and the Radha Govind temple on the banks of Radhakund. There is a little lane that goes, that is known as the Swananda Sukhata Kunja. So please take darshan when you go there. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's had a home there as well, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's Gurudev, used to also stay there. And like this, when he was Bhaktivinoda Thakur was appointed back as a deputy magistrate in Bengal. He came back. There also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur established a home there, and that home in Navadvip is known as the Godrum. I think is Turbikunj. Sorry, I take that back. Turbikunj. And please take darshan again when you go to Navadvip or Mayapur. These are some of the very most important places of tirthas, the home of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And while he was actually one time on the terrace chanting the holy names, he saw a beautiful aura across the Ganga in Mayapur. Mayapur and Navadvip are known as, both are actually, they are the same, but for further delineation, the Ganga divides in those areas. One side of the Ganga is called Mayapur and the other side is called Navadvip. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's home, Surbikunj, was in Navadvip. And when he was on the terrace chanting the holy names one time, along with one servant and along with Bimla Prasad, just the three of them were present. And while they were there on the terrace, it was dusk. And at that time, he saw there was an amazing aura, a light coming in Mayapur area. And then he asked his servant, "Do you see that?" The servant could not see it. And he asked his son, Bimla Prasad, "Do you see that?" He says, "Yes, Baba, I see it." And then to confirm that, he actually had, by the way, before that, he had some association with a very exalted Vaishnava known as Jagannath Das Babaji, very, very old, wonderful personality in Navadvip. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to consider him as his Siksha Guru. In our Gaudiya line, the importance of Siksha Guru is amazing, and it has a very high position, even sometimes more than Diksha Guru. Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually at some point had given up the association of his Diksha Guru, Bipin Bihari Goswami, which we had mentioned, who had put his feet on his forehead due to some kind of a understanding based on the position of Raghunath Das Goswami. This is another topic. But because the pure lineage of Mahaprabhu was not properly construed by his guru, he had to give him up. And then he took shelter of Jagannath Das Baba in Navadvip, and he considered him his guru. That is why on the altar, if you go to ISKCON, we will see the parampara, we see Prabhupada's picture, then we see Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's picture. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur took initiation from Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj. Although Bhaktivinoda Thakur could have given initiation to his own son, he took a very humble position and he did not initiate his own son. He said, in Navadvip, there's a very nice sadhu, Vaishnava, by the name of Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj. Please take initiation from him. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, following the orders of his father, Bimla Prasad, took initiation from Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj. And Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj made many excuses because he knew that Bimla Prasad was not ordinary. He is also Manjari, Guna Manjari himself. He recognized Nayana Manjari, how dear he is to Rupa Manjari, how dear he is to Radharani, how dare he gave initiation. But he used to make excuses. And because of the order of his father, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Bimla Prasad went again and again. He says, "Okay, I will ask Mahaprabhu tomorrow." And like that, he would make excuses, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And finally, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimla Prasad, got very, very disappointed. He says that, "Baba, if you don't give me initiation, and did you ask Mahaprabhu?" "Oh, I forgot. Can you come back tomorrow? And like that, he was so disappointed. He told Baba, if you don't give me initiation, I will jump in the Ganga and give up my life. So like that, he was forced into giving initiation. And this was inspired through his heart. And he was the only disciple of his one and only disciple, like Loknath Goswami had only one disciple, Narottam Das Thakur, one of our prime jewels in the Gaudiya Vaishnava alliance. And Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj considered Bhaktivinoda Thakur as his guru, as his Siksha guru. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur considered Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj his guru. So in our Gaudiya Vaishnava line, we see the pictures of them. We don't see the pictures of the initiating gurus. It is not important that who you take initiation from. It is also important that whether the initiating spiritual master is your Siksha guru. Siksha guru has got a lot of weightage. Because when you attain Siksha from a personality or a Vaishnava, that person has a very, very great value. Diksha Guru also has a value, but Siksha Guru, here it is displayed. Even when we study the Vaishnava bhajans, we say that we see even in the song, Narottam Das Thakur song, that Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya Karo More, Tuma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare. In the last line, Narottam Das Thakur says, Daya Karo Sri Acharya Prabhu Sri Nivas, Ramachandra Tangamange Narottam Das. So Ramachandra Thakur was one of his contemporary god nephews, and his god brother was Ganganarayan Chakravarti. And so like that, the importance is very true. It is not that if we are initiated by the same spiritual master, oh, he's my Guru Bhai, my Guru Behen, and we make a groupism. This is very kanishta, very low level thinking. Actually, anybody who brings us closer to Krishna is Guru. That is the definition of Guru. And anybody who brings us closer in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anybody who gives us Jai Krishna Tattva Veti, Sei Guru Hoya. So we have to understand these concepts. Otherwise, how we can, and we have to see the lifestyle of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he, as soon as he saw that aura, he first went to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj in Navadvip, and he was very old, 125 years old, it is said. He had a servant, and that servant used to carry him. He was so frail, he was completely bent, and he was constantly chanting the holy names, completely in separation of Krishna, and he was in a very vipralamba bhav. In separation. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to visit him, he always used to be very happy, and he used to take instruction from him. And then from one place to another, if Jagannath Das Babaji had to travel, that tokri, that basket was there, and there was a strong sevak. He used to carry Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj in his tokri. He was very tall. And then when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came, and after seeing that aura from his terrace, from Surbi Kunj in Navadvip, he said, Baba, I saw this aura. Can I take you to this place? I have a very strong feeling. I'm inspired to tell you that this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. And this place was complete. It was actually owned by Muslims. At that time, there were many Muslims in Mayapur. Even today, if you see, there are in the villages, there are many Muslims in Mayapur, in Bengal. So, but wherever there are Muslims, it is very impossible for tulsi to grow. But as they went closer, they saw there was a grove of tulsis that was growing around. Amazingly, lots of tulsi around a neem tree. And when he went there, along with Jagannath Das Baba, who was carried on the basket, immediately when Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Siksha Guru saw that, he jumped out of his basket. A very old man who is being carried jumped 6 feet high in the air, and he says, Ei Amar Nimai Prabhu, Ei Amar Nimai, Ei Amar Nimai, Ei Amar Nimai. And he started dancing, and it was amazing. Actually, it is said that his servant had to even open his eyelids. They was drooping so much. He was so old that when somebody came and to see that person, sometimes his eyelids have to be opened up. So such an old man physically, he started dancing, and it was confirmed. Ei Amar Nimai Bhumi. He started chanting in Bengali that this is my Nimai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born under a neem tree. So Advaita Acharya's wife, Sita Devi, called him Nimai very lovingly, so that no najar, no bad omens will fall upon that sweet child of Sachi Mata, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was known as Nimai, and later on he was known as Nimai Pandit, and of course Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by the end term was Nimai. So Ei Amar Nimai Bhumi. He said, this is my Nimai's Bhumi. This is my Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. So like that, similarly, we have to be very careful. There's one instruction here that Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not declare that immediately to the whole world that this is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He took the proper step of going through to his Shiksha Guru by taking his blessings and confirming. Like today, we see that so many people are writing books and articles and all that just to get some name and fame so that they can get a few bucks, by publishing. They write so many books and all that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never approved of that. Prabhupada was also told that why don't you write so many wonderful. He was known as Kavi, but he says our acharyas have written so many wonderful poems. Although he was dubbed as Kaviraj in the Gaudiya Math, he had written a couple poems in English. He had also written a couple poems in Bengali, but he kept it to himself. He never actually displayed it. But he said that yes, our acharyas have given everything. I don't feel qualified enough to write. But nowadays, now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is starting to write books, and they're started to publish them and started to selling them. If you go to Vrindavan, you will see in Kartik, they're all setting up tables and they put their disciples to work for them. I would say labor for them. And then the disciples are naive, serving Guru Maharaj, buy my book, buy my Guru Maharaj's book. Nobody, sometimes even reads those books because the purity is lacking. Unfortunately, so we have to understand that authority should be there. It is not that somebody should simply pick up something and whimsically start writing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very cautious. Sarup Damodar Goswami was very strict. Mahaprabhu had given instructions. If somebody comes and wants to show me there any literary Vaishnava works, first Sarup Damodar has to approve it. If he approves it, then I will read it, or I will take a look at it. Sarup Damodar Goswami would never let anybody just simply show, oh, Mahaprabhu, I have written this, can you read this? So nowadays it has become a fashion that people write books and then there are some other people who write the foreword, and this has simply become some kind of a self-aggrandizement kind of a thing, which should be avoided. And everything our acharyas have given. Why aren't we studying the Vaishnava Acharya bhajans? There's so much nectar in it. If we take even one bhajan a day, we will probably take maybe 100 lifetimes to finish the important bhajans of our Vaishnava acharyas. Then why we need the separate? We need to just simply write our own bhajans and like that. We have some devotees who send me some poetry every day. They write something and it doesn't make sense. Vrindavan ki jai ho, iski jai ho, uski jai ho, and they think. And at the end of the 8, 9, 10, 20 stanzas, they write that their own names, trying to imitate these Vaishnava acharyas. And I'm like, oh Krishna, please give them some sadbuddhi. Like I can also write something so much like, oh, this person ki jai, that person ki jai. That is not real poetry. That is not real this thing. And there are so many grammatical mistakes, and then you put your name at the end and you publish it and you send it on WhatsApp. That is so much ahankar. People are doing this these days. So main point why I'm bringing this point home is that philosophy, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, such a great personality, a Radharani's servant, Prana Sakhi, Preshta Sakhi. He knows Mahaprabhu's birthplace, but he did not declare it unless and until his guru, Shiksha Guru, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj confirmed it. This is the main crux. So I will end here now. There are so many wonderful pastimes of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Actually, he left his body in 1914. He actually then became Baba Vesh. Baba Vesh is beyond sannyas. And in Baba Vesh, you don't preach, you're just secluded, you just take bhajan, you're simply crying in separation of Radharani's service. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written so many wonderful bhajans in his Bhajan Lalsa. Dekhite, dekhite, bhulibo va kabe, nij sthula sharira. নয়নে হেরিব ব্রজপুরা শোভা নিত্য চেতানন্দময় বৃষভানুপুরে জনম হইল যাবত বিবাহ হইতে। Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur disappeared from this world in 1914. He established pure Vaishnavism after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance, in after about 500 years ago. In the 1750s, after 250 years, pure Vaishnavism was lost completely. People had become Shaktas. They worshipped the Shakti like Durga, etc. And they had become offenders, like becoming Sahajyas. There are 13 different Sahajyas. Sahajya means one who takes to Krishna consciousness very lightly. Sakhi, Beki, Chudavani, Shanka Chuda, all these persons, they actually imitate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood of pure Vaishnava bhakti, but they are actually Sahajyas. They are imitating and sending the wrong message. They used to imitate the Sakhis. They are known as Sakhi Bekis, like the gopis of Vrindavan, dress up like that. And sometimes their gurus used to have their enjoyment with them. And like this, those sects misrepresented pure Vaishnavism. They misrepresented pure Vaishnavism, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur openly ridiculed them. He re-established pure Vaishnavism. Actually, we should be very thankful to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Because of him, we are able to visit today the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Yogapith in Mayapur, which is very close to the Chandrodaya Mandir, the ISKCON temple there. And it is by the mercy of the Shada Goswamis that today in Vrindavan we are able to visit all the holy places, because it's the Shada Goswamis who re-established all the pastimes, places, and the temples of Krishna. They were also completely lost. Vrindavan had become a jungle, and when Aurangzeb and all the different Mughal emperors came, they ransacked the temples, they broke the temples, they broke the deities, and all the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas, they ran away, leaving Vrindavan to become an ancient khandar, like a dilapidated place, like in terms of, it were all ruins. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa Goswami, Bhugar Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, "Ei Chai Gosai Jar Kore, Koile, Ei Chai Gosai Jar Vraje Koila Vas, Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash." The eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna and all the temples were re-established and recognized by the Goswamis. And similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also recognized by the Vaishnava Acharyas as the seventh Goswami, because he helped in re-establishing and recognizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. And the true principles based on Rupa Goswami's teachings and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the pure devotional service, pure bhakti was re-established by him through his writings and so many different. I mean, there's so much more that I'm overwhelmed with, but I think I will stop now. And we seek the blessings of Bhaktivinoda Thakurji on this auspicious day to bless us all with pure bhakti. And just, we desire nothing else. Oh Vaishnav Thakur, oh hey Vaishnav Thakur, Dayar Shagur, e dashe karuna kori, diya pada chaya shodo ayamar, tomara charan dhari. Dayal Vaishnav Thakur, Dayal Vaishnav Thakur, Dayal Vaishnav Thakur. So thank you very much for patiently listening. It is so important, like I cannot stress enough. If we have love for Vaishnava Acharyas, automatically, even if we don't study the scriptures, we don't study all the verses, automatically we will become the favorites of Radha and Krishna, because they are very favorite to Radha Krishna. And when we have love, priti for these Vaishnava Acharyas, many things will be manifest. What pure bhakti will be manifest. Otherwise, we can study 18,000 verses of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So many speakers are there. So many speakers are there on Vedanta. So many speakers are there. Scholars are there on by studying the Vedas. But pure bhakti will never manifest in their hearts, because they never loved. They never showed rati. They never did Mahatpada Raja Abhishekam. They never did Abhishek with the dust of the lotus feet of these such great Vaishnavas. They never showed attachment to the lotus feet of such Vaishnava Acharyas. And that is why, that is the main secret, my dear devotees. Please try to read the biographies of great devotees. Read the biographies. That will inspire us immensely. Please read the biography of Srila Prabhupada in the Lilamrit. Before you read any other books, that should be the foundation. It is amazing. That will be your Bible. That will be your Bhagavatam. That will be your Quran. The life histories of these Vaishnava Acharyas. Trust me, I have drawn so much inspiration by reading their life, the Jivan Charitras, that I cannot even describe it. Today, I am here in front of you all speaking all this. It is only by this bare mercy, a little bit of a drop, somehow or the other, they have blessed me, I think, and I seek further blessings that I should continue this service so that I can glorify them as much as I can based on my capacity. Thank you very much. All glories to Thakur. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Bhakti Vinod, Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Vancha kalpataro vishya kripa sindhu vyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So, Anup Prabhu, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and make your closing statement and invite anybody who would like to contribute their reflections, their thoughts on today's satsang. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Can you speak a little louder, coming closer to your instrument?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. So, first of all, we will seek blessings of Bhakti Vinod Thakur on this auspicious occasion of his appearance day. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for so many things that you told us today. We learned about different types of Shaktis, Chitta Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. Also, you told us about the structure of creation, the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and the hellish planets. And we learned about the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is kind of the description of the Surya Gayatri. And you also present before us the opulence of Golok Vrindavan. And you told us many things about the pastimes of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and his beautiful prayers, Hetu Bhakti, Ahetu Bhakti, the difference of those, and also how to control 6 different passions, how to rectify our 6 different faults, how to cultivate 6 different qualities, and how to attach with the 6 different kinds of association. He also told us about his son Bimla Prasad Thakur, who is Bhakti Saraswati, who is guru of Srila Prabhupada ji. And there are many different pastimes that you told us about the Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like how we find out the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are so many things you told us, and I know that you have many more things to told us, but due to shortage of time, you have to close this today's session. Thank you very much. We are fortunate to have you with us. And
all glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Bhakti Vinod Thakur ji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anup Prabhu. You have nicely summarized today's Bhagavad Katha as well as the essence of Bhakti Vinod Thakur's life. So now we can invite anybody who wants to speak in or their realizations, their reflections, or any questions that they may have. Please help yourself by unmuting your mic one by one. That way we can hear properly your question or your comments. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu Haribol. Mukund
Yes,
Prabhu here.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very nice and very detail wise you explained Bhakti Vinod Prabhu's or this Katha. I'm excellent. Prabhu, I have one question. How you got the energy and excited and everything how you got a power for the 2 hours with the motion and with everything you explained the Kathas? Any secret? Satchidananda Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev ki jai. I don't know what to say, Prabhuji. You know,
Little
sometimes.
bit. I know. I mean, that's so many years you are reading, and that's the everything you know about that. So little bit say about you. So we are happy
No,
to.
Prabhuji, I really, honestly, I cannot, I don't like, the power is coming from the acharyas. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
Okay.
Very simple.
Haribol.
That's all. You know, somehow or the other, I love my acharyas. You know, no matter how fallen I am, no matter what, but I pray to them. And I request all of you, you know, the more we start knowing their songs, the literatures that they write, the more we will fall, the more affection that we get. So I have probably a fraction of affection for them, and they have been very kind to me. And that's where it is coming from. Ekaki amar nahi paibol. I personally, I do not have the energy. Sometimes I have told some of my good friends, Nanpran Das Prabhuji from Vrindavan, and sometimes when I discuss, I don't even know what I'm saying sometimes when I'm speaking. Once I start speaking, some or the other,
Haribol.
it flows.
Haribol.
It is just flowing. It is them who are who are. I just try to become an instrument, Prabhuji. So it is, none of it is coming from me, Prabhu. It is their glories.
Yeah, it is
So
true.
some
But
mistakes I may be making here and there. So that is my what do you call, my ineptity or my weaknesses. But whatever good things that you hear, whatever you are inspired by, it is 100% purely the mercy of these acharyas. That's all I can.
thank you, Prabhu. But you know, that's listening your katha. So automatically we also got a power, and we are waiting for the when the next Sunday coming, and we are listening the Prabhuji's next katha. I mean every katha. So I am happy to you,
Thank you so
and
much.
just
Thank
very
you.
remember Sachidan Prabhu ki jai. So
Srila Prabhupada,
automatically,
Gurudev ki jai.
jai automatically all the goes to the all Guru. So
Yes. Aroha Pantha. Thank you. You
so
remember
just
that.
we are the
I am so
Satchidananda
happy.
Prabhu ki jai. Thank you. Very
Haribol.
nice. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
I have somebody here in the chat has mentioned, can I ask a question? Sunita Mataji from Chicago, I think. Go ahead, Sunita Mataji. Unmute your
Hi.
mic and you can ask a question.
Yes, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Prabhuji, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is a big inspiration for me. And more so, I'm always amazed at how he was able to manage a grihastha, very nice grihastha life, and a very successful professional life. And on top of all that, the most important thing is his spiritual life, and he has inspired and created so many wonderful devotees, starting with his son. So, as we struggle with our grihastha life, many of us, with job and home, sadhana, everything. How should we be inspired with Bhakti Vinod Thakur? How can we learn from his life and apply in our life, Prabhuji? Any tips can help us?
Yes, Mataji, very nice question. Dandavat pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Gauranga. So, for starters, the answer is we have to have sincere chanting and reading. Two things we must do. And third, of course, satsang. You know, we sometimes get engrossed in so many other activities in the name of bhakti. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. The mind is always there to make excuses. Whenever the opportunity arises, one should hear from senior Vaishnavas. When we hear, then we can. A lot of the devotees in our movement, we see that, oh, I have to do this book distribution. What is this book distribution business? It is to just to please a number game so that we can please our superiors. I'm making a general statement. Um, most of the people don't even know what they're distributing, what is inside the book. If we are at the airport or on the street and giving Bhagavad Gita or giving some other books like Srimad-Bhagavatam, somebody stops us and asks us, what is the highest meaning of this book? Or can you tell us more? How many of us are able to speak from those books, quote from those books, so that we can convince the other person? Or is it some kind of a literature that we are just trying to give out? So we have to understand first, read Prabhupada's books. Read, and read. This is the first thing that I would recommend. And chant and associate at the very first opportunity with senior Vaishnavas so that they can share their realizations. Yes, Bhaktivinoda Thakur indeed is a most exemplary of all from the Grihastha. Sometimes his son, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and himself would have a debate because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimla Prasad never got married. He was a Naishtiki Brahmachari. From Brahmacharya stage, he directly took sannyas. And father and son sometimes used to debate what is better. Sannyas life is better, or brahmachari life is better, or grihastha life is better. And both of them would, on scriptural evidence, they used to have this wonderful transcendental debate. Bhaktivinoda Thakur would win. Sometimes Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would win. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would put this particular statement that Prabhupada made, that he told his father, I'm willing to marry 100 wives if they can give me Krishna conscious children. Can you give me guarantee that they will give me Krishna conscious children? Because that is pure bhakti. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur would sometimes laugh like that. So then he would say that, yes, I got a wonderful Krishna conscious child like yourself. So like that, father and son. So anyways, the point is that whenever we apply each and every moment of our life, each and every breath of our life in Krishna's service, even if it is when we are doing a job, when we are taking care of our kids, when we are doing our duties, thinking of Krishna, because everything belongs to Krishna and we are responsible for our children, for our duties, then it is pure bhakti. It is a perfect grihastha. Under that particular consciousness, that is why Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness. And as our consciousness matures, our dharmas will change, and then we will come to the final conclusion that 100% dedication to Krishna's bhakti is possible, and all the other duties will automatically fall behind in a very systematic way where Krishna will be in charge. Not that one will neglect and under the guise of bhakti become lazy and not do their duties. So there is a delineation there. I hope you understand this very important point. Manasa deha geha jo kichu mor arpilu tuapade nanda kishore. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in one of his songs of Sharanagati, he mentions this, that Daima magela tuapada overane. I have given up even my own minute independence at your lotus feet, and even my responsibility at your lotus feet. So now do as you please. But we have to reach that stage. And in order to reach that stage, we have to have pakka sadhana. And pakka sadhana means chanting nicely, minimum 16 good rounds, minimum. Reading Srimad-Bhagavatam, no prajalpa. When we meet devotees also, let us not discuss anything else besides Krishna consciousness. Let us not discuss anything out of what our acharyas have taught. And we only will know that if we read their books, what Rupa Goswami is writing. Utsaha, we have to be excited, we should be enthusiastic. Dhairya, we should cultivate that patience. Just like Prabhupada writes in his commentaries sometimes that a woman, once she is married, she may want to have a child right away. Like the couple may want, but they have to still be very patient. Minimum 9 months before they get a child. So similarly, bhakti is a stage. One has to be very patient. Utsaha, dharya, nischaya. One should be completely determined. So all things that are not conducive to bhakti, one should give up. Things that are conducive to bhakti, one should accept. So all these things is sadhana bhakti. We should be so pakka in our sadhana. We should never hear the bad qualities of others. Keep it very pure. So then all these messages will come and the blessings will pour. Blessings will pour. No matter what people do, what they do, what is our goal? We have to decide. Do we want pure bhakti or we want Mishra bhakti? We want some kind of a diluted bhakti version. What is our goal? It is just like a very sincere or a studious student that I want to go into the best medical college. I want to achieve engineering. I want to achieve the most highest standard of athletics, and I want to go into the Olympics. Giving you some material examples, that determination. So we have to decide what is our requirement. That is the first thing. So then all the answers all the questions that you're asking will fall in place. It takes a lot of tapasya. The tapasya is we have to hear from the right source Hearing from the right source is very important. And hearing means reading Srila Prabhupada's books, reading, and one by one Srila Prabhupada's books, when we finish them, simultaneously we can read the books of the Acharyas, and then we will understand. Otherwise, we will become very confused. It will become like a Greek and Latin. We need a live guide. We need somebody who can help us explain these books. Every time we read a verse, same verse we can read, but we can get new light, new reflections of that verse. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a completely surrendered soul. He came as a Grihastha. He left perfect example. So we need that determination, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur and all the Acharyas display. Prabhupada had that determination. No, my Guru Maharaj has instructed me that I should print books when I get money. I should preach to the English-speaking world. Thinking like that in Vrindavan, when he was just a 20-year-old boy, at that time that instruction was given. So 40 years later, he was thinking like that. 45 years later, I have not fulfilled. So that determination, even at that old age, came to the West. So we have to have that determination. And once that determination is there with the heart, Krishna's Paramatma will read it, whether somebody else reads it or not. He will make those arrangements. He will make those arrangements. He will give us that satsang. Problem is, we do not wish good satsang. We do not actually, from the core of our hearts, we do not beg for the pure satsang. Whatever is going on, we accept. Many people of us who are in this spiritual line, last 20 years, 30 years, chalta hai, chalne do. That is the attitude we have. That hankering should be there. Ekaki amar nahi paye bal harinam sankirtane. Tumi kripa kari shraddha bindu diya deho Krishna naam adhane. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite par tomar shakti ache. Ami to kangal Krishna Krishna boli dhai tava pache pache. Dayal Vaishnav Thakur. Sunita Mataji, you are Bengali, you have understood each and every word of this bhajan. Take it to heart. Pray, even if it is mechanical. In front of Krishna, pray these, make this Vaishnava bhajans by heart. And then they will manifest in our hearts in a very pure way. Right now, they may be in a very artificial way. But if the strong desire is there, we will cry when we say these bhajans. We will feel it. And when that happens, Paramatma has noted it. Acharyas have noted it. They will shower the blessings. That's what they are for. That is their business. That is why they came from Golok. They're not ordinary personalities. They were chosen by Radharani. They were chosen by Shyam Sundar because of their special capability to deliver souls. Prabhupada said the mercy of the Acharya or the Guru is just like the sun, equally shining on the seas, on the mountains, on the rivers, and on the land. But there are few who refuse to. If somebody refuses to come out into the sunlight, what can Krishna do? What can the Acharya do? We all have minute independence. So that is my humble suggestion. Good satsang. Pray for it. Like Parikshit Maharaj in our introduction last week, we read that verse in Parikshit Maharaj that Yam Yam Upayanti Srishtim, whatever, whenever I'm born in this Srishti, please Krishna, give me pure satsang of your devotees. This is the prayers of pure devotees. This is what our prayer should be. Every Acharya has the same message, perhaps in a different way, but the message is the same. Give us pure association. Kita janma hoilo ja yathatu vadas bahirmukh brahma janma nahi moras. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his other bhajans says, even my deserves to become a small Kita janma hoilo ja. But yathatu vadas, I pray to you, O Krishna, in the house of a devotee, make me that insect. That is why I beg, I tell myself a million times, a billion times, study the Acharya's songs. They have given everything us to on a platter. So simple. Some of us get criticized when we sing Vaishnava bhajans in the temple. Oh, nobody will understand. Sing Mahamantra. Arey Baba, we are all jivas, anshas of Krishna. Why do we underestimate the value of the jiva, when we are rekindling the right, when we have the right match, the right spark, we can set a blazing fire of Krishna consciousness. Because they are not interested, or because they do not understand, they say, oh, people will not understand, just sing something simple. Vaishnava bhajans is the core. Srila Prabhupada, look at this. How many Vaishnava bhajans he has sung? All the acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he has sung so many bhajans. In the previous days when Prabhupada, he used to cry. You can feel that crying in his voice, just on his harmonium. There was no mridanga, no studio, no fanfare. The Shada Goswami Astakam, have you heard from Prabhupada's lotus mouth? Tears should roll from your eyes when that happens. Your hair should stand on an end when he's singing that. When he's singing Jai Radha Madhav, when he's singing Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugav, when he's singing Ohe Vaishnav Thakur, Gauranga Bolite Habe. Yes, Mataji. Good rounds, good association, love for the acharyas, and the love for the acharyas will only come if we study their Jivan Charitra, their biographies. If we study their simple works, and you are so fortunate, you are a Bengali by birth. For you, it is a treasure. Persons like me, I cannot read Bengali. I have written Prabhupada's books and learned whatever Bengali I could. I can speak and understand. I wish I could understand each and every word in Bengali, that I could read the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengali. In the original words, I can read the original words in the Vaishnava bhajans and the. So a lot of these Bengalis, unfortunately, they are misguided. That purity is not there. They think Rabindranath Tagore is the greatest. Amar Sonar Bangla. Amar Sonar Bangla is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. They don't know. They don't know what they have. They believe in this Vivekananda Ramakrishna business. Meat eaters. Joltori ami khabe. It is vegetarian. What nonsense? That is not Vaishnavism. But 90% of Bengal is all, one time when Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada was in a sabha in Kolkata, and one of his disciples was speaking, and he called Vivekananda spiritual gunda. And all of the people in the audience, they started throwing things, and Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada immediately got up from behind. He said, yes, my disciple is right. He is a spiritual gunda. They have nothing. Ekaki amar nahi paebal harinam sankirtane. They do not have. Kali is same as Krishna. This is what they preach. Kali is a perverted reflection of Maya, of Mahamaya. She is. Jahan hoite Krishna adhikar, nai Maya adhikar. Jahan hoite Surya. But they will never understand. They are into poetry. They are into Rabindra Sangeet. They are into all these different things in arts. Vande Matram, Bhakti, of Desh Bhakti, it is beyond. You have to understand that, and only when we associate with such devotees, we will understand. Otherwise, we will stay on a mental platform or an intellectual platform. I say this so emphatically because I feel. I wish I was born a Bengali. Perhaps I would have taken to Mahaprabhu's teachings much more easier, much more better, understanding the language. But the kripa has to be there. Love our acharyas, love Srila Prabhupada with all your heart, read his Lila Amrit. Just see how your life will change, Mataji. I guarantee you that. Hare Krishna. Forgive me if I that
No,
somebody
Prabhuji.
not liked, but my business is to speak everything as it is.
Yes, Prabhuji, you speak from your heart, and I feel that, and you said the very good thing, very important points that I have taken it very seriously, and so chanting is definitely going to purify the heart. Good association, pure Vaishnava association is important. So many good points, Prabhuji. And yes, you are right. Being a Bengali, I feel fortunate actually. When I hear all these Vaishnava songs, it touches the core of the heart because these acharyas wrote from their heart and soul. So it comes out in those words. And I am fortunate that I'm able to understand. It touches my heart. So I'm going back to the Ravindra Sangeet that you talked about. I just wanted to share when I was out of school, I grew up in Bombay. So I was feeling a little attachment to Bengali language. And I felt that I should go to Calcutta and start Ravindra, what is that called?
Ravindra Sangeet.
No, there is a school, college
Oh,
they run. So I thought I will start doing college there. But now I feel I'm so lucky that I did not join. I would have become one of those Mayavadis. But,
absolutely. I'm so glad you realized Rabindranath Tagore was a Mayavad, just a intellectual platform.
yes.
Nothing to do with Krishna, nothing to do with the pure bhakti. Desh Bhakti, we explained that in Prabhupada's appearance, that how Prabhupada met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur for the first time. And he was a Gandhivad, he was very much into Desh Bhakti. And he asked this question to Bhakti Siddhanta. Our first duty, when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur looked at him and said, "You seem to be a very educated person. You should preach the glories of Mahaprabhu, this Bhagavat, to the English-speaking world." And to that, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said that who is going to listen to us? Our first primary duty is to free ourselves from the clutches of the British Raj. And Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada said, "Are you really free? Birth, you are forced to take birth based on your karma. Death, you are forced to take death. Death is going to come to all of us. It's forced. And in between old age and disease, where is the freedom?" He said politicians will change, but politics will not. What is the guarantee India is free today? 100 years, 200 years down the road, it will be annexed by another country. And again, India will become a slave, or any other country can become a slave. The kind of freedom I'm talking about is the freedom of the soul. This is pure message. All the isms, patriotism, socialism, they all take a back seat, which most people with a common intellect, they will never understand this. That is why we need the kripa of these acharyas. What do you call that in physics? Quantum physics, a quark. Those who understand the meaning of the word quark, Q-U-A-R-K. It is so small, it is like a fraction of an atom. This passing in this material world is like a fraction of an atom. Our real existence is in Krishna consciousness, in the realm of pure bhakti, wherever we are. Even being here in the material world, we can be of Golok Vrindavan. Just like the American embassy in Delhi is in India, but it is not of India. Prabhupada used to give this example. So wherever Krishna, Radha Krishna keep us, based on their wish, wherever we are. Jai Stan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's famous saying, Jatha Vishnu Ganesh Jai Stan Vrindavana. Wherever there are Vaishnavas, that is Vrindavan. So we have a lot of endeavor. It is not a piece of cake. It is not a piece of cake to get that kind of, but if we have that sincere desire, it becomes a piece of cake. The problem with us is we lack sincere desire. Yogakshemam Mahamiham, Krishna has guaranteed. Whatever you lack, whatever you don't lack, I will give you what you lack and preserve what you have. So what is our requirement? End of the day, every person should ask themselves, what is my requirement? Somebody is very happy. SSC pass. Ho gaya, 10th standard, I'm happy. Somebody says, okay, I want to just become bachelor's in some subject. Happy. One says, I want to become master's. Happy. Full stop. One says, I want to become PhD. What is our requirement? Every individual has. And our job is to inspire individuals. First, take it, Jivan Shartak Kori Koro Para Upkar. Mahaprabhu said. inspire ourselves, get the inspiration, and give it to others. Karo paropkar. Give the highest of the highest. Beyond patriotism, beyond socialism, beyond all the isms, like Prabhupada said. Thank you. It was a nice question. I'm very happy that you asked.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mata.
Dhanvat Pranab Prabhuji.
Yes, Harihar Prabhu. Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
We are really very much blessed to have the opportunity to hear from you the life story of the great Vaishnavas. In fact, the way you narrate that instill bhakti. We're really very fortunate. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I'm so happy when I hear this. All glories goes to my Prabhupada. Actually, you're glorifying Srila Prabhupada, and that is what I really love when this happens. So great our acharyas are. Thank you, Harihar Prabhu.
Yeah.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, anybody else? Where is my dear Nandpran Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Sri Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Gauranga.
Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Bhaktivedanta Thakurji. All glories.
Namo Bhaktivedanta Satchidananda Namane Gaur Shakti Surupaya Rupa Anugvarayate. Actually, in the song, Oye Vaishnava Thakura Dayara Sagar, Ye Dase Karuna Kari, he has described the initial slokas of Nectar of Instructions.
Yes.
All the initial slokas, they are very important and very much required for anyone who is desiring to progress in the path of Bhakti, Prabhuji. So everyone must read Nectar of Instruction by Rupa Goswami and try to understand what he is trying to say us and tell us and instruct us to follow these things. Chaya Guna Dehi, Chaya Deha Dase, says Deha Satta Sangha. All these things, there he has very well described how to progress in Bhakti, Prabhuji. Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai Ho.
Jai.
Satchidananda Prabhu ki Jai Ho.
Gurudev Prabhupada ji ki Jai Ho.
Ki Jai Ho. Jai Ho, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, anybody else? If
Hare
not,
Krishna
I will.
Prabhu, Hari Bol.
Sujay Prabhu, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Sorry, bhai, I was late today. I'm sorry. I was busy.
No problem.
Hari,
Hare
Hari,
Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Bol. So, thank you very much.
Prabhu. Hari Bol, Prabhu. Hari, Hari.
Today I don't see Gopal Prabhuji, Gopal Joshi. Yes.
Are we going to have
Yes,
tomorrow?
Sujay Prabhu, bolo.
Okay, are you going to have tomorrow Gujarati?
Yeah, tomorrow we will have our Gujarati class. Yes. Yes, I will send the what do you call Zoom link for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Oh, yeah. You.
Gopal Prabhu.
Sorry, I'm in my daughter's login. So my mobile was battery was draining out. So I logged in through my daughter's login.
Okay. Good to see you.
So it is in Ditya Joshi's name.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. That's what I was thinking too.
So thank you, Prabhuji. You are remembering me. Since you are already called me. I have I was just thinking about one verse of Tulsidas ji, where I don't remember where he has actually written that. It's how is that if a farmer putting the seeds, no matter seeds is ulta ya seedha, whatever form it goes, the plant comes out. So I'm trying to associate with our concentration. Sometimes we are carried away with even if we are in taking the Prabhu's name, but still carried out with the concentration loose,
and because of many stuffs like Maya, it could be Maya, it could be many stuff, it could be office, it could be home, like anything. So like what do you think about, like are we, do we need 100%, like until we reach 100%, our life won't be like successful?
Okay, good question. So you quoted Tulsidas ji with that analogy of the seed going into the ground, whether it goes left, right, or whether it goes upside down, or to that I have just one based on my personal realization. Again, yes, anything that we do spiritual will always have a permanent effect. We should never forget that. Krishna also says that in the Bhagavad Gita, Neha Bikramana Savasti Pratyovayana Vidyate Swalpam Apyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhaya. Whatever, even if somebody makes a little endeavor in spiritual life, it is never diminished. It will actually save us from the biggest danger, and it will continue. We had explained that supposing if somebody does 10% bhakti, pure bhakti in this life, next life, everything else will be zero. Their money, their education, whatever, but they will start from 11th%. Let's say they do acquire 20% more. In that following you have given is something analogous to this. So, and sometimes the seeds do not fructify. Not all of them fructify. You have to be very careful. That is because if we commit offenses, when we commit offenses to Vaishnavas or to, then that seed of bhakti is destroyed. So there are two things. It is not that, but in general terms, if we do not commit offenses, and if we whatever based on, you mentioned that okay, there is office and there is other work and 100 other things on the mind, and Maya is there. Very true. But again, the answer to that is, what is our requirement? How desirous are we to attain that purity? So then, accordingly, the student is prepared mentally, and Krishna gives the push. It is like based on the student's capability, a teacher will sometimes teach. Similarly, we have to have that initial desire and a continuous desire for pure bhakti, and everything will slowly fall in place. If not in this life, next life or the following life, we will definitely gain. There's no doubt about it. What common sense tells us is that if we can attain it sooner, it is the better, right? So, but if somebody wants to take their own time, sweet time, then that's also fine. I mean, again, it's all an individual thing. It is an individual choice. Everybody has got minute independence, anuswatantrata. What may be good for you and what your desires are may not be the same. Although staying in the same house for your wife or your kids or your brother or your friends, everybody is an individual. But this all our desires, our practices, our thoughts, our consciousness is altered based on association. So our association is pure. And if we, when we, like I had mentioned this, that if you want to become a very good cricket player, or let's say you want to excel in some game, say badminton or chess, then you will play with who? With better players than you. Then you will excel. Even though you are beaten again and again, your game will become better and better. Similarly, we have to first desire good association, pure association. And once Krishna will definitely, there is no doubt, arrange for that. And we are fortunate. I can very safely say that we are under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada's books, so we are under very good association. And I have no other ulterior motive. I don't need money from any one of you. I don't need anything from all of you. Just come, participate, come on time, take the nectar that has been given by the acharyas. This is the best I can give. Take advantage of it. So I hope I was able to throw some light onto your query or your concern.
Definitely, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you very much.
What is our requirement? That is the thing. So if some students say, my requirement is I don't mind staying in the 5th grade for 5 years. Okay, what can you do? But some say, no, mommy, papa, I want to get admission into IIT, no matter what. I don't care, papa, mommy, I want best tuition. Put me through the schools. If we have to beg and borrow, get the money for the tuition. I want to get into the best of the best of the best. So that desire is there, then Paramatma helps, whether it is material or spiritual. What to talk about spiritual? Spiritual, he will even help us 1,000 times more. इच्छा करके तो देखो. That's the thing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Desire करके तो देखो. Haribol. So I take your leave here for today. We will meet same time next Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, New York, Toronto, Montreal, and 4:30 p.m. Central time, Chicago, Dallas, and 3 a.m. Vrindavan time. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Thank you. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So I end the meeting here. Gaur Premanande Hari.